Hey, congrats on the man.
12.
Hey, there's audio in here. Look at that.
Yeah. Drifting's been at Western for
Until I ruin it. It's probably going to be a drift car.
Drifting's been at Western.
I've been looking at going all in on like a whole figs kit.
Okay, should we chat about coilovers?
Yes.
I want to go back to
Didn't you want to
coilers.
make like a lip or something as well?
Yeah, I plan to.
Oh, when you destroy your car?
Yeah.
This is.
You want? What you need to do is just have a trip to Richmond and just drive around and wait for someone to back into you.
Oh, pretty much.
They're getting their hugs. Do I have more people that are coming in still?
Somebody rode out my car yesterday actually on my own street.
See you sneak in.
Good, because I tried to go in through that.
Yeah, I know, it's very confusing.
I've never been here, so I was like so lost.
It used to be a Mr. Tubbs in here.
Oh, it was, and that was the greatest. Depending on how much food you eat tonight, it might still be. Might still be.
I enjoyed the joke.
Mr. Tubbs, yeah.
Make sure to grab a complimentary Rice Krispie Square and or a drink of your choosing.
There is drink of your choosing. It is your choice.
But only
If
if
it's
you.
water, you have to open one of the cans of pop, dump it out, and then you can have the tap water.
We're on this, by the way.
Okay, tell me about this controller contraption.
This is
what am I doing
you're
here?
live on a webcam right now. It can hear you, by the way.
Okay.
So, those of you who are watching, hi.
Hello,
Can you use
Claudius.
the one that makes it so it just turns me into a dog because I don't want people to see my face?
Not right now, but yes, in the future. Okay, give me a second. More people coming. Okay. I'm gonna trip over stuff. I'm gonna trip over stuff. Wireless mouse.
Silence is deadly. So what's up with this? What do I got? I got to point the camera.
Just
Right.
what we're doing. That's
Yep,
it.
that's
all.
it?
That's all. That's all you gotta do.
I might want to get this going on my phone just so I can double check that.
Yeah, you
everything's-
can watch the comments.
Although I've somehow.
My phone's over there.
Oh, that was mine.
Some jerk left their
toss that
phone
over
on the
here.
thing, and then right now was like, "Where's my
Dude,
phone?"
that's a worthless phone.
What the heck, Robert? Stop leaving your stuff everywhere.
Jeez Louise. Cool. I think we're streaming. I don't know. We'll see.
From
But
Bob's Burgers.
good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Is this
Welcome.
how I learned to ride a motorcycle?
Yes, this is how you learn to ride motorcycles. This is also where you learn to turn your phone off before you do stuff. So there we go. Cool.
Mine will be.
I have some new people. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Tonight is our drift theory night. That's why you're here. Hopefully, if that's not why you're here, you're very confused. My name's Quinn.
Hi, Quinn.
Hi. If you have not hung out with me before, I am an instructor. I run our drift school. I wrote the drift school. Nobody else wrote a drift school, so I decided to write a drift school. Well, you snuck in. I see you there. I didn't even see you coming. Oh my god. A couple of things is I've been drifting for a really long time. I've taught all over the world drifting in like Japan, Australia, the UK, through Canada and stuff as well. And I'm also a regular drive instructor, so I can definitely tell you how to operate your car on the highway, like I was asked earlier. Yeah, you need to merge in with the traffic. But that's enough about me.
No,
More
it's
importantly-
Victoria. You don't have to do that.
Yeah, the secret is just hold your horn, pull into traffic. Somebody will figure it out. More importantly, though, tonight is it's not really about me. I'm here for you. If you're curious, if you came for me, that's probably the wrong reason. The money that put this night together comes out of my pockets and Serge's pockets. I'm putting this on for you. I am your servant this evening. So if you have questions, stop me. I already know the answers to the questions, so I'll give them to you instead.
If you do want to pay Quinn, he takes food donations.
I do actually, yeah. Not like very seriously. Somebody bought me a pizza on stream the other night. I was sick.
That is sick.
Yeah.
Did it get delivered to your house?
It did. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, from Ontario, which is like they actually were in Ontario and they called us. Yeah, it was dope. So yeah, the big things that like who are you? Like who are you? Who are you?
We'll just do that.
And you?
I'm Olive.
You're Olive, and you've been here before, but your name Justin. Is there anybody else? You, sir.
Justin Robert, right?
Eric. Awesome.
We've got two.
There's you boys. Yeah. Cool. The next question is really important. Is why are you here? If you didn't get a sheet that says the Drift School questionnaire, just raise your hand. One of our lovely volunteers may bring some of these spares here to you. I want to know why you're here, because you might have just showed up to talk about cars, and that's cool. I want to talk about cars with you. But you might also show up and said, you know what, I have this specific problem with my driving, or whatever the case may be. I also want to solve those problems, so I need to know kind of why you're here. And that sort of rolls into our next thing. What are you hoping to learn? Because if there's something missing and you're going to a class, that's kind of the purpose of a class, is I don't have this chunk of information about this topic, and I've come to a class. So we want to fill that in. So tonight, you can stop me at any point. You don't have to flow, you don't have to sit there, you don't have to be quiet. You can go like, I don't understand that, or I don't know about this, or give me more detail about that. That's a big part of tonight. You will get a sheet. Tonight, we're going to skip the triangle and circle. That was for a previous one. Cool. And yeah, stop me if you need to. Awesome. So we're going to just jump right into the big meat and potatoes, the heart and soul of the whole thing. There was somebody here, wasn't there?
No.
Okay, the ghosts. The ghosts in my brain. Kind of the big chunk of meat. Oh, there's people. I'll wait for them to get in here. Well, I guess
Hey,
before
Quinn,
we
do you
jump
have
in
more of
here,
those questionnaires?
I am out. That's it. That's all.
One here, somebody.
There's a secret one. One here.
Wait, can you throw a pen in?
Hell yeah. Look at that.
These questionnaires are for YouTube.
Specifically for you two. Yeah. Have a seat. Grab a cola. Get a Rice Crisper. Please take one of these if you want. If you have found that, I like that they're escaping to where there's no seats. They're panicking.
Just get out of the way, because I know where.
Here, this is death.
Front of the class, guys.
Yeah, front of the class. I can keep the lovers from making out. It's
Mine's
fine.
yours.
One of us.
I get the best shot for me.
That shot, right? So, I have questions for you guys. What is drifting? I know it says on the board behind me, but can anybody actually tell me what a drift is? That could be, that's part of it. I would call that a sub-part. Well, there's something like, what is that?
Controlling a slide as you enter and exit a turn.
Yeah! Okay, I don't have, you know what, I'm gonna
Throw a Rice
Krispie
Krispie square at him.
There
Yeah.
you go.
You get it whether you want it or not.
So I'm going to ask a question on top of that question. He just gave me an answer. He said controlling a slide, but what was the most important part of that whole sentence he gave me? Control is a good one. Yeah, that's a big part.
While you enter and exit.
Enter and exit. Yeah. A drift isn't just coming into a corner, driving through the corner, and throttling down and have the booty come out. That's actually called a power slide. That's not a drift. And you can see that here. Some of the YouTube channels of like the fancy stuff. Come on in, have a seat. There's a lovely spot right here. Yeah, right up in the front. So yeah, you'll see like car reviews, Top Gear, all that stuff. You'll see them use the throttle on the exit. The back of the tail comes out. That's like a sub step to drifting, but that's not truly a drift. A true drift is the car sideways before even entering the corner. I have some people tell me they can drift, and they will tell me that they stop at the stop sign and hammer on the gas away from the stop sign and get the tail out. Your grandfather will also tell you that. I used to be the Lordco parts guy, and everybody told me they could drift, that their Camaro is the greatest thing ever, and it can slide better than anything else in the world. But they're all stopping at a red light and hammering it on the green. That's not a drift. That's just oversteer. There's a difference between them. Cool. The history of drift. Oh my God. I forgot there's a video here. But now, you have a video. Actually, before I dive into this, can anybody tell me the history of drifting? Where did it originate?
Mexico.
Okay, we got Mexico. Any other answers? We got Japan. Any other answers?
Space.
Kind
That's
of.
why Space Force is there.
I mean, that's not wrong. We all came from space. So we have space. We do have a more like centered answer. It's actually not a location. It's a type of driving.
Rally.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Drifting is an extension of rallying. The popularization and how drifting became popular came from Japan, but drifting existed long before that. It was a form of dealing with really low traction situations. It was the best way to get through a corner in a slippery situation. And so it begins with rally. So let's just take a quick peek here. Some of you have seen this video before. Some of you have not. Oh, this is the intro. I use this as my favorite intro clip because it's just so hectic. This is a gentleman named Katsuhiro Ueo, and this is a 200 horsepower car. This was a professional drift car. This is him just doing a bit of a demo lap, and it's just excessive. I like it. Yeah, so we'll figure out, we'll start there. Oh. Ta-da! Cool. Oh, look at that. Ta-da! So, drifting existed before Japan popularized it. And tandem existed before Japan popularized it. A lot of the rally guys would actually go out and practice together. And when you get really good at sliding the cars, what's the next step? Try to get good at sliding the cars beside your buddy. That's the progression of that. That's just the way it is. I want more fun from it, so I'm going to put more fun into it. And so, yeah, long before. Yeah. Now, I don't speak whatever language he's speaking, and it might just be really broken English, but I don't speak it. Yeah. Side note, this is an Alpine A110. This is actually a rear-engine car. Rear-engine cars long ago were even then better for drifting than front-engine cars, and that's a whole really advanced drifting topic about how all the professional drifting cars are wrong. So that's a whole other thing. Drifting North America, that was the thing. Drifting's still a thing in North America. Oval track racing on the dirt. The best way to get around the corner is to get the car sideways and push it away from the wall with the throttle. That's still the best way on dirt to get around. And yeah, you can see early tandems. The only problem is they're only going one direction. They got to kind of go both ways. So NASCAR's almost there. Just got the other way to go. Although the road course races, very entertaining. Yes, they are.
They switch drivers.
Yes, they do actually. A lot of it. They bring in drivers from the Australian V8 racing and supercars and stuff. Ta-da. This one's just for aesthetic. I just like the aesthetic of this one. Yes, so good. Side note, anybody know what an AA6 is? Mm-hmm. How many AA6s are in this video? Hi, welcome. If your answer is 0, you're wrong. There's actually 2. This is actually a front-wheel drive car. You can slide front-wheel drive. That is possible. Drifting isn't really about horsepower. It's about like managing momentum. It's literally the same as bowling. You're casting a ball, and you're controlling where that's going. To sort of answer the AA6 thing, the AA6 Toyota Corolla, the really famous one, the flip-up, pop-up headlights, some people have seen that weird TV show called Initial D. Those were mechanical, like literally mechanical, identical copies of the Mark II Ford Escort. Toyota said, hey, those guys are good at rallying. We'll build that car. And they just copied it, stole the design right out. But the AA6 is way more famous, so heck 'em. Yeah. Sweet. Oh my God. So now we're to that Japan answer. Somebody gave me a Japan answer. Now we've arrived at the Japan answer. This is actually the Toge, a recent update from Norio with a recent translation. This used to be referred to as Plus B. It's actually the Toge is the video. This was interesting. It was a video you could only get if you went into a shop. You went to the local shop and you found a video that was only distributed by that local shop. This is the video. And this is actually the video that popularized drifting in Japan, and weirdly enough, another Corolla.
What shop?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, I wish I knew. But it was like a tuning shop that you could only get this VHS from.
Was the camcorder worth more than the car at the time?
Yes, yes. Well, I will say that this is this is shot in 1984. This car's 1 year old.
Same price.
Yeah, same price. Yeah. But yeah, this is what circulated around Japan, and youth and people were really excited. They want to kind of learn about drifting. So this video was like, oh my God, people could do this? That's a thing? All they were trying to do is, we saw some rally footage just before that. That was called the RAC. That was a rallying series out of the UK. All the Japanese kids were trying to do is make it look like they were rallying their cars. That's it. They saw them sliding around in other videos and like, I want to do that too. Then it became competitions. So people are competing. I'm in the way here, but they got their own video. They can see. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Sweet. Now, if you go to our events now, it's all BMWs. It's nothing but BMWs. For the longest time, though, people would drift whatever car, and most cars that are rear-wheel drive will slide. Yeah. Even pickup trucks will slide. That's a thing. Yeah. You'll even see a couple front-wheel drive cars in this. Yeah, Carboy, it's so sick.
I did see a Civic there at the beginning of that. That's neat.
And if you think that Top Gear was showing you new content in the 2000s, this is actually Jeremy Clarkson's Motoring World. And this was, everything that you see in Top Gear was just him redoing his previous series called Jeremy Clarkson Motoring World. Literally all identical. All they did is add dropping cars from cranes. That's it. But yeah, early Japanese competition. So people did it on the street. They got bored. They were like, I'm the best. And the other person's like, I'm the best. And then they're like, well, let's rent a track and see who's the best. And then it was run by the gentleman from that video. This is the same guy, the same driver of that Corolla in that earlier video.
Crash. That's the S14's phone though.
Yes. Anybody own an S14? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah. If you don't know, there is a curse on S14s. All S14s crash always. And as you can see, even in our warm-up video here, they crash. So, yeah. Now, we require cages for our convertibles. So if you have a convertible, you will have to have a cage. Otherwise, you don't need one. Brush script.
All about the brush script.
It's so important, and it's so hard to explain. Dude, that early 90s street style. This is 91, 92, somewhere. Is anybody born after that? Yeah, drifting's old. Yeah, it's been around. Sometimes managing is cool, but sometimes it's shitty. Watch the guy behind him, like, oh my god. Yeah. Ooh. Oh no. And early Canadian drifting. Oh my god, anybody born after 2003? Okay, just on the cusp though, I think, back there. Yeah. So this is actually Signal Auto. They came to Canada. They traveled around. These guys are kind of the seed, if we talk about those guys. And we're going to skip this here. You've seen capital drift before. Yeah. Nope. Come on. Awesome. Those Signal Auto guys are the seed. They actually travel around North America, and they're like, hey, have you heard about drifting? Let me show you. And then everybody's like, oh my god, drifting's cool in North America. So you can blame those guys. But can you do it? That's a big question. Can you do it?
Maybe.
Possibly. Drifting is really easy. Actually, we were talking about a friend of ours. Robert was over with me in the UK helping teach drifting. And one of the kids over there is 13. 13 years old. He's competing in BDC. BDC is the British Drift Championship. That is their level of Formula D.
Big dumb cow.
Yeah, what's that?
Nothing.
Okay, that's fair. He is competing in the BDC. He is actually competitive and has won events there. He's this weekend, I think, competing in the VDC, which is the Virtual Drift Championship, which is like the Formula D or D1 of like video game drifting. And so it's not an age thing. There are some drivers in many of the professional series that are over 50. It's not an age thing. It's also not an ability thing. Driving is purely visual, so if you have good eyes on you, you can probably drive okay. It's more of an attitude than anything, if that makes sense. So drifting is really easy to do. One of the hardest things to do is to actually get to sit in a car that is well set up for it, and somebody says, yes, you're allowed to do it. That's the hardest part. There's a gentleman named Daigo Saito. He's a very famous drifter internationally. He goes around to all the different big events. And his kind of origin story is he just sort of sat in a car for 36 hours and drifted. And then the next year he won the D1 Grand Prix. It's not anything other than seat time. Just sit in the car, drive as much as you can. Your horsepower, all that stuff, yeah. We'll get to that. How get in drifting? You need a car. Oh my God. Does anybody sign up for the drift the on-track drift school? Heck yeah. Do you have your own car? Then you're check one. Look at that. Rear-wheel drive is recommended. You can slide front-wheel drive cars. That's possible. You can slide all-wheel drive cars. That's definitely possible. If we're talking about the origins of rally, yeah, lots of people slide all-wheel drive cars. Bring some spare tires. That's important. I've had a few people show up. I had a gentleman with the 370Z show up, and I don't know, maybe the car had a few hundred kilometers on it. And he's like, yeah, bought brand new tires last week. Should be good for this and the autocross next. I'm like, you got about 10 minutes out of those tires. So bring some with you. Brand new tires are good. There are some people in the area that sell brand new tires. Yeah, you can like talk to them if you need tires. Yeah. But bring some spares and good tools. Like, things are going to break. If you have a car that's not a brand new car, has that car ever been operated at its maximum before? Probably not. So it's probably going to find, that's going to be the day it's going to find the problem. So you should bring some tools with you. Come out to events. Interesting. What does this mean? Can anybody tell me what this means? If you don't have to speak English, you're not required, or read English. But those who can anybody tell me what that means? I got a hand back there.
You get way more seat time at the track than you do out in the street where you get caught.
You get caught, yeah. Is there any, generally oncoming traffic on the track?
No.
Is there
Usually not.
I've definitely seen it before.
But it's pretty rare. Yeah, it does happen, but it's rare. Is there other drivers that aren't expecting drifting on the track? Is there kids on bicycles and people backing out of their drive? No, that shit's not there. That's the whole purpose of the track. On the street, you can get a little bit of experience. It sucks. Don't do that. Because if you get caught, how much is it cheaper or more expensive than a track day?
Way more expensive.
Yeah, man. So our track days here are the cheapest that I know of in Canada. In all of Canada, not just on the island. It's the cheapest in Canada. I think it's is it $70 still? Yeah, for 7 to 8 hours of driving. If I were to compare that to the go-karting out front, we're still cheaper. So something to think about. And attitude. Oh my God. Yeah. We'll get to how do you win at drifting, but your attitude is most important. That's the best thing you can bring with you is just a really good attitude. Your car might break the very first run. We had a gentleman who brought a car all the way from the mainland, trailered it all the way here for our pumpkin smash. He then he failed tech actually. And so it took him the whole first day of pumpkin smash to make his car good. Then it took him half of the second day to finish that job. And then his very first lap, he was so bored of it, he wanted to send it. It was just big send time. And he put it into the tire. The big one of the tires.
He sent it.
Yeah, and the whole shell of the car was garbage from that very first run. Do you feel that was a good attitude or a bad attitude? It was a bad attitude. And the bad attitude started before he even got to the track. He didn't prep the car, he didn't read the rules of how to do it, or even ask any questions. He could have sent any of us that work with CapD a message being like, hey, does this pass or doesn't this? I'm having trouble determining that. All you have to do is go, hey man, send a picture. So bring a good attitude. Your good attitude is really what makes the day go well. So let's break it down to drift. Because a lot of people are like, if I put you in the car and I tell you to tell me how to do it, can you tell me how to do it? If I were to ask you, without looking at this, how do you drift?
Oh my God.
It's hard to put in words. It's tough. You can think of this as a timeline. So this is the start of time. This is the end of time. And you can break it down. There are 4 parts to a drift. Everybody tells me the first part of a drift is pull an e-brake. You're missing a part already. You've already skipped a part. This is the chunk tonight of all the stuff I'm going to talk about that if you're going to come to our track day, pay attention. If you've come to our track days before and you just have trouble putting it into words, this is the way to do it. So there's the 4 parts. There's the setup. You're coming up to the corner. You're going 1,000 miles an hour. Literally the dash, the gauge has come around on itself. It hit the peg the second time and broke the peg on the way by. But it happens to be a dead hairpin. How do you feel your setup is? Is it a good setup? You're coming in really fast, or is it a bad setup? I see some emotions. Tell me about it. You got it. So before you even initiate, there's a setup that happens before the corner. You got to set up the corner right. You got to come in at the right speed and the right position. Either you got to come in fast enough for the corner, or put yourself over the side, or whatever may be the setup. But you need to set it up. And now, once you've got it set up, now you can work on the initiation. There's different ways to initiate a drift. Can people, anybody tell me the different ways to initiate?
Oh shit.
Okay, wait, I got clutch kick, I missed the other one.
Faint.
What?
Faint entry.
Faint, okay. We'll talk about the advanced stuff. So I had a clutch kick, we got a handbrake, we talked about that earlier. And yeah, there's faint. There's a few others, but we're basically just trying to tell the back wheels to lose traction.
Weight transfer.
Weight transfer? Yeah.
Shift lock.
Yeah. There's shift lock. I like this.
Inertia?
Inertia drift. Ooh, this is getting fancy. I don't even have a slide for inertia drift, but that's a whole other thing.
That's how you drive.
I scared Danny actually with inertia drift the one day. We were up on Lego, I was like, watch this. Yeah, and the car just slid out. He's like, whoa. And I watched the hand hit the door. That was nice.
This is the way I drive.
Once you're sliding, you are now in the easy part of the drift. This is actually the easy part. Is you just kind of counter steer and you chill there. You're just waiting. This is the control of the drift. You kind of just stay on the throttle for the most part, not all drifts, but you kind of just stay on the throttle and wait it out. It's the momentum that's taking the car through the slide. And then we have the exit. We got to regain traction. So those are the 4 parts. If you are learning and you're trying to like communicate to somebody else, you're like, I messed up. You can refer to these things. You can be like, it happened before I got to the corner. Well, it probably happened on the setup. Or I did the initiation and then things went bad. So it's probably initiation. There's a bunch of ways you can use this information to help you communicate. Some of you have partners that drive with you, or like have like friends that like sit with you and do stuff. And giving this language and like making this like have a consistency to this language makes it a lot easier to communicate that stuff. Then they go, yeah, that part sucks. Change that. You can use this tonight, but you can also use this when we do the on-track stuff. Your instructor, when they're talking to you, you can use that stuff, and it makes it easier. So weirdly enough, this slide is not in your booklets. I didn't put it in there. I'm sorry. So if you want to take a picture now, it's pretty important. Give you a couple seconds. I saw it. Yeah, there. One phone out. Yeah, there it is. This is the chunk. You can take anything away from tonight. This is the bit you want to take away. Yeah. Because
the one part you didn't put in the book.
What's that?
The one part you didn't put in the book.
Yeah, the one. I'm sorry, but there's more in the book. We'll get to it. Sweet. Give me a thumbs up if you get your picks.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get into those chunks. Let's break it apart. Let's dive deeper into that. Set up a drift. I like this. Okay, we got position and momentum. Can anybody answer the questions for me? It's a lot of work for me to tell you.
To understeer and kind of slide off.
Which question are you answering?
What happens if I come in too fast?
It's too fast. Okay. Well, a drift is an arc, right? So you're sliding through an arc. If I come in too fast,
You're going to plow through the arc.
you may plow through the arc. You're probably going to go past the corner. Yeah, so that's probably too fast. Can we tell me what the right line is? It's a pretty complicated question. It's also very open, so that if you guys want to throw in, yeah, tell me.
The line you want to take?
Oh my God, look at that. The right line is the one that gets you through the corner. So it's relative. Hi, welcome. You can have colas if you want. There's a chair in the middle. Oh. The right line is the one that's going to take you through the corner. It takes time and practice to find the right line. It takes time and practice to find out where what's like the right speed to come in, where to put your car. And it's going to take some seat time. Seat time is important. You're going to have to sit in the car and find this stuff out. How do I initiate the drift? This is actually the hardest part. Because you got to tell the tires that are specifically designed by engineers, in a car that's specifically designed by engineers, on roads and like track surfaces that are designed by engineers to lose traction when all those other people told them to keep traction. You got to kind of figure this out. So there's different ways to break traction. There's acceleration type and deceleration type. Acceleration type is, well, what would happen to my rear wheels if I was accelerating to slide? Would they be going faster or slower than the road? Faster, makes sense. Yeah, my car's doing 80 kilometers an hour, but my rear wheels are doing 140. Sometimes, if I'm sitting on limiter in the top of 5th gear, how fast are they going? In your car,
Your governor is up.
Okay, pretty quick. Very quiet. Yeah, they're going to go really fast. So there's different ways to do that. You can kick the clutch. So you can hold the clutch down. You hear the engine, and then you can let go of the clutch. It'll get those wheels spinning. You can use power over. We were talking about that, actually, the power slides. Those are an acceleration type slide. Deceleration type, well, you were saying pull the handbrake. What speed are the rear wheels doing when you pull the handbrake? Zero. And the car's still moving at 80 km, so the difference in this road speed and the tire speed is a slide. And we got shift lock, weight transfer. Let's talk about those things. Ooh, advanced type? Whoa, way back there, talking about advanced types. I like this. So, handbrake.
Sweet drawings.
These are in your booklets. You'll actually find these in somewhere close to the back. If you have trouble seeing the screen, they're there. These are rated. Now, I will say that all the stuff in there is, yeah, it's in there. These are rated. So a handbrake is one of the first ways to learn how to cause traction loss. You can do this in mom's car. Don't do it in mom's car. But I know you've done it in mom's car. Don't do it in mom's car. We were saying that, yeah, it's a great way to lock up the rear wheels, cause them to lose traction. We're surprising the rear wheels. The rear wheels are rolling with the road, and you're like, surprise, motherfucker! And like you suddenly stop those rear wheels. But this is, I would call this a very rudimentary. This is a very low way of getting into a drift. And it's a good way. It's consistent as long as your handbrake works. But does anybody have a car that's maybe older than them?
Oh, mine's my same age.
Okay, so close. We're close. Awesome. Does your handbrake work?
No, well,
Okay, some
we
people
put it
do.
in gear still.
Okay. So it might stop you on a hill and when you're parking, but it may not actually lock up the wheels when you're driving. And so it's also sometimes unreliable in that sense. It relies on the mechanicals of it. So
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it snapped.
that's usually the thing that happens for the first time. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna finally pull it, and it goes, "Grr," and you're like, cool, and then you go to pull it the second time, "Grr," puff, and it breaks. It's ruined now, and you're gonna have to fix those. Those are old. They've been sitting there, and most people in North America don't actually use their parking brake to park with, so they haven't been touched in a long time. It's a lot of work, and generally people are really too gentle to it the first time. They're like, oh my god, I have to pull the handbrake and stop. And they're like, and they put it on one click, and they're like, why didn't the car spin out and catch fire? Like, no, you gotta like surprise that. That's how that works.
Definitely press and hold the throttle while you're doing that.
Depends when you're gonna release it and how to do it. Yeah.
It's a deceleration.
It is, but when you are done with it, if you're off the throttle, the car's just gonna grip up and go straight. So you gotta be on the throttle. Situational for sure. Clutch kick. Dun, dun, dun. Now we're moving up. It's still pretty low tier, but it's a little bit higher up. What is clutch kick? I know some of you have done it. Somebody tell me. It says it behind me, but you can tell me with your own words. Anybody? Bravery? No? Okay, well, I'll just go to the washroom and...
Violently rude to your car.
What? Yeah, it's really mean to the car. Your clutch was designed to move the car from a stop and then get it going. It really wasn't designed to like beat the snot out of it. But you may end up using this. This might be a way that you're going to cause those rear wheels to lose traction. We were talking earlier that it is to surprise the rear wheels. I've seen you clutch kick in video games. Yeah, you've done it. So you know what it's like. It's 2 feet down, so throttle and clutch, but 1 foot up. You put the clutch down, the engine revs really high, not a little bit, really high. And how would I let that clutch out?
Violently.
Fast.
Yeah, you gotta let it go real quick. Because you're trying to surprise the rear wheels. You're trying to cause them to suddenly spin. And so you want to let it off and stay on the throttle. And that's going to get those rear wheels spinning. And yeah, the car's going to start to slide. Sweet. Da-da-da. Woo. Power over. We moved up to 4 to 5. Woohoo. This one's a little bit trickier. Has anybody heard of power over before?
My dad talks about it all the time.
Tell me about it. What does Dad say? And give me the French accent.
It's when I drift, I hit the gas pedal and then it just goes sideways. Easy.
Easy. I like the easy. It's spelled EZ. Yeah. Power over is you're going around a corner. The corner is roughly a 60-kilometer-an-hour corner, and you tell it, I want 80 kilometers an hour. You're like, here's more. Well, because it's a rear-wheel drive car,
The rest of the ends go.
yes, I had to, it's flipped. So to do the initiation, I had to flip the graphic. Advanced. Very advanced. Yeah.
How do I do that?
There's a kitchenette there. You can do it privately over there in the sink. That's okay.
Can you teach me how to do that here?
Secretly later.
He does do private classes.
I do, yeah. But let's say you're carving an infinite circle. You're driving in an infinite circle. You're already at 100% of available traction. The car can't turn any faster. So you tell it, I want you to go faster. What's going to happen to the back wheels?
They will start spinning.
They'll break loose. That is power over. That's it. That's all power over is. If you're watching like any of those, we were talking about those like car reviews or any of those shows, that's all they're doing is they're turning, too much throttle, the booty comes out. That's a really nice and gentle way.
Can you do that booty thing for the camera again?
This is the booty. There you go. Yeah, when you give the throttle a little bit too much for the corner, the bum's going to walk out. One common problem is which wheels do I want to lose traction when I'm drifting?
Both and the rear.
What's that?
Both and the rear.
Both rears?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I come up to the corner and I do this, which tires are going to lose traction? Cool. Yeah, I see so many people when they first start to drive, they try to make the car drift with the steering wheel. They're like, come on, come on. They'll even come up at Lego wall. They're coming out Lego wall and they're like, huh! And then they go, ah. Well, at that point, the front wheels have lost traction. So which wheels have all the traction?
The rear.
The rear, so it just pushes the car forward at the wall.
Into the wall.
If I take a baseball and I throw it in space, it's going to stay in a straight line forever. And so if your steering tires lose traction, the car is going to travel in a curve or a straight line. Straight line. You're just going to head to the wall. Out of curiosity, which tires of the car do 80% of the braking? Front. Awesome. So if I'm like, hey man, I want to drift, and I lose those front tires, how much braking do I have left? That's it. One of the saddest things to see at the track is the, oh my God, understeer. Hold the brake, 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 wall. That happens all the time. I watch it. It's wild. All they do is let off the brake, open the steering, get that front wheel traction back. The front wheels do the turning, they do the braking, and so you need those front wheel traction. So you can't surprise the front wheels to try to drift. If you're snapping the wheel around, it's just going to upset the front wheels. You want to use the throttle to drift the car. That's where all that sort of lines up. And so power over is a good way to figure that out. It's not a true drift often. It's still a power slide, but it's a good way to figure out how to get the booty out in a nice, smooth, soft way. And if I use the words booty and smooth and soft in the same sentence, then it puts a smile on Landon's face. And you can see it. Look at that. We have advanced types. For those of you learning, you can get up to this. This is awesome. But these are the advanced types. We talked about shift lock. It's actually a low-tier advanced type. Just because it's an advanced trick doesn't mean it's a good trick. Does anyone know? What is a shift lock? Does anyone know? You answer. I want other people.
Shifting down a gear and let the clutch back out.
What happens? Why does that cause the rear wheels to lose traction?
Because the rear wheels aren't spinning as fast as the engine is spinning.
You got it, yeah. So I'm driving along, I'm on the highway, I'm in fourth gear, just cruising. And
Other way around, actually.
What's that?
Other way around, I guess. Sorry, the
You got
engine's
it.
spinning faster than the rear wheels.
And I put the clutch in. Don't do anything with the throttle, just put the clutch in. Put the car in a second, let the clutch out. The engine is probably not going the right speed, and all of a sudden the rear wheels aren't going the right speed and the car locks up. And that's a way to do it. It's not a good way, but it is a way to do it. And if you're driving like a modern Porsche that has an electronic handbrake, it's a great way to get the booty out. No. That might have happened at some really expensive racetracks. We have weight transfer. This is our 5 out of 5. This is the fancy Japanese stuff. You see those guys running the walls and doing the cool stuff. Most of the time they're not touching the handbrake. Most of the time they're not actually clutch kicking. They're using the weight of the car. Because your car floats on suspension, you can actually choose which tires have weight on them by choosing how you move the car. Weight equals traction. For example, if you take your hand and you loosen, you all have hands. I saw you come in. Take your hand. Yeah, you have loose hands. Come on, Lucy. Come on, Lucy. I'm going to stand here the whole time. Awesome. Awesome. And I want you to loosely put it on the desk. Just super loose. Sorry, buddy. And I want you to move it. Does it have lots of grip or is it slide? Cool. I want you to put lots of weight on the desk. And now try to move. Your tire works exactly the same way. The more weight that you put on that tire, the more grip it has. That's kind of it. So if I put the weight of the car on the nose, which tires have the traction? Cool. So the booty walks out. And weight transfer, some people call it feint or flick, or the Scandinavian flick. There's a bunch of different names for it. It's something to work up to. It's a way of choosing where the weight of the car is so you can get the bum out. That's something to kind of we'll work on in the future. Is anybody participating in our expert class coming up? Have you signed up for it?
No, I didn't realize you could get.
Yeah, it's on the website. Let you know now, it's on the website. Today's the 28th. It's on the 7th. But soon. Yeah. One of our tasks on the advanced section, or our expert section, coming up on our special double drift school day, is the no handbrake, no clutch kick station. There's actually one that is just specifically for that. Because last event, I sat with a couple drivers who have been driving for many years, and we came into turn 1, 2, and that was, it worked. It was good, but there's other ways to do it, and you might end up in Japan, and the person might say you're not allowed to touch the handbrake. Is that a realistic scenario or an unrealistic scenario?
Apparently it's realistic.
We were in Japan, and the guy's like, here's a 500 horse Mark II, JZX100. The transmission is very, very soft in it, so you can't clutch kick, you can't handbrake. And they're like, here you go. That actually happened. And you have to know how to drive. So yeah, work up to it. If you're relying on just a handbrake, you're going to get stuck in that situation where you might actually not be allowed to use it. It sounds weird. It's a rare scenario, but it did happen. How to control a drift. More video. I like this. I always forget that I made these. Now this is stolen footage. I'm not going to say that I'm the originator of this, but I've repurposed it. So, dun, 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 dun. Here's a car drifting in slow motion. It's a little bit easier in your brain when it's going in slow motion. What are the front wheels doing? Come on, my hands.
Counter steering.
Yeah, man. What does that mean, counter steering? Oh my God, my own face. Thanks for I just want to pause, thanks. The modern internet's the worst internet. Okay. Yeah. They pointed the corner exit. The car can only go where you tell it to go. If your front wheels are pointed over here and your rear wheels are pointed over there, it's going to figure something out, but it's not where you wanted it to go. Your front wheels always need to point the direction you want to go. So if I want to go this way, my front wheels are pointed that way. I can only drift the direction that my front wheels are going. So if the car starts to slide and I keep holding the steering wheel, the front wheels are still pointed straight. So I heard counter steer. What is counter steer? What is counter? I'm gonna get down low. Turn the opposite way. What does that mean?
You turn the other way.
Yeah.
Straighten it up.
There was a whole animated Pixar movie about it called Cars. Turn left to go right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the whole message of the movie. That's the big scene. Is the booty gets out on it and he actually turns the wheels. He learns to counter steer. It's kind of realistic for NASCAR's sake, but because if you've watched NASCAR all up until some of them started training with drifting, they almost always would just spin out. And then 2 or 3 years ago, there's one where one of the guys actually counter steers and stays in it up on the wall, and everybody's like, oh my God. How many years did it take you to figure to let go of the wheel? So yeah, you gotta let go of that wheel. The car will start to slide, and if you don't allow it to counter steer. And I word that specifically, allow it to counter steer. Grocery carts. Push the grocery carts. Sometimes there's the one wheel that does whatever it wants, but generally they follow the road. There's a name for that. Do you know what that's, what?
Caster?
Yeah, called caster. The wheel isn't directly underneath the pivot point. The pivot point's off. So just like a weather vane, it's going to find which way the road is going underneath it. It works exactly the same. The wind passes by a weather vane, it follows the direction of the wind. Your front wheels on your car actually have a caster effect. They have a setting where the top of the strut and the wheel aren't, one isn't above the other. The wheel's actually in front of the pivot point of the strut. That's what your caster does. And so when the car starts to slide, you actually don't have to fight it. You don't have to argue. You just have to throw and let go. So the car starts to slide, you don't have to like, you're working too hard. You're already working way too hard. You just have to counter steer. Most of the time the car will actually do it on its own. And you just have to allow it. Nick Oldford, he used to be our poster boy. That kid could hit the same line. I mean, it wasn't exciting, but he could hit the same line every time. There was never, like, you could go out and measure where he just drifted by. And you sit in the car with him, and his hands do this the whole time. That's it. You can leave the line. He goes, he enters, and that's the whole run. You don't have to argue with the car. You don't have to fight it. It's the less work you're doing, the smoother it looks on the outside. But don't forget to stop me if you're confused or anything like that. I see a lot of type faces out there. Wow! Look at that.
Ooh, that is called counter steer.
It is called counter steer. Look at that. Fancy, fancy, fancy. He's got a very bent wheel. He's hit a couple learning curves.
Especially how S13 suspension works, though, unfortunately.
All the bushings doing weirds. We're gonna go back to that because there's more of that video I want to see. I'm just bad at my computer. No, I just got this computer last night, so things are unskillful. My trackpad is different than my trackpad. Come on, get me in there. Internet.
You press the play button.
You know what, pal? So we got some more sliding here. Again, the front wheels are pointed where they want to go. What are the rear wheels doing?
Just enjoying the ride.
Oh, why don't... Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's fair. So let's say the car starts to step out. We know that we've got to counter steer. We've got to get those front wheels pointed where they got to go. What are the back wheels going to do? It's a rear-wheel drive car. How am I going to get to the exit of the corner? I had this set up. I got up to the front, start of the corner. I did my initiation. I got the back of this car sliding. I've got my counter steer. I'm in that control period. How do I make the car go to the exit? Push. What does my body push?
Throttle.
The throttle. And the rear wheels push the car to where you got to go. It's scary. The first time the back of the car comes out, you know what most people do? What's that? They let off the throttle. And what happens to the rear wheels when they let off the throttle? They either lock up, the engine stalls, or they just grip the road and I stop drifting. So you got to keep your foot on the throttle. If you're trying to learn those donuts for the first time, especially in our beginner class, people will do this. The back will get out and they go, and then they stop. They're like, why didn't the donut continue? Because you gave up. You got to stay on that gas pedal. The throttle pushes you to the exit. It seems weird. There are other ways to modulate the throttle. You don't want to use too much, but yeah, you want to keep on the throttle, push you to the exit. So I want to talk about you, because you're here for you. I assume you're here for you. You're not here for just a neat presentation. Why? Why should I hold the wheel this way? What is he doing with his hands?
Keeping them square with the shoulders.
Square with the shoulders? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Where is he holding the wheel? I know he's slightly turning, but where is he holding it? Is he holding it at the top, the bottom? Is he holding on the underneath? Has he got his hand inside to do one of these? You ever seen people make left turns? Fucking, oh my God. Oh my God. You can stand at the corner of a big intersection and just watch every grandma do one of these. Ah, it has power steering. It's not 1950s. Where is he holding?
Outside.
The outside?
9 and 3.
9 and 3. That's the big thing. Yeah, on the sides of the wheel. When I teach regular like performance driving, like just grip racing, I'll have guys get in the car like this. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dom Toretto, he's gonna show everybody how good his car can do a wheelie on the street with air jacks underneath it and ruin $100,000 car. Yeah, family. But why is this shit? Actually, Robert, you showed up to the track. Both you and Tori, they're teammates and roommates. And how sore were your wrists after I kept slapping them?
I'm surprised I have hands.
Okay. We almost made that slide happen again, like the early like you saw with the missing arm. That almost happened. Yeah. My roommates showed up to the track for the first time like this. They even had hockey tape at the top of the steering wheel. What? I couldn't believe it. What if you lived in a country that doesn't have hockey? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to drift. You're fucked. So, 9 and 3. When I teach racing, like just regular racing, not like drifting, but we actually do 9 and 3 for a couple of reasons. One, driving's entirely visual. I really don't need functioning arms or functioning legs. We are talking about the arms. I don't need them. I can adjust the controls for different drivers with different purposes and like functions. That's okay. But with my hand on top of the wheel, my head kind of sits loose and away from the seat. And so when I do like weird shit, I can't see what I'm doing. My right turns are garbage comparatively to my left turns. That's, I mean, if it's NASCAR, cool. One hand on the wheel, that's awesome. You can make some left turns. But the big thing is I can make a 180 degrees turn without affecting my head. I want my head to stay still, and I want it to like be with the car. I want my head and the car to be one, so I can tell exactly what the car is doing. I don't know if you've seen a couple of those people who are like wall tapping and stuff. They get their car out, they just skim the wall, which is a wall tap, not a clump, oh my God. Yeah. They just skim the wall. Is their head inside the car like, whoa, no, they're chilling in there. Those are usually the people that have the harnesses and the nice race bucket. And they can actually tell if the car is an inch too close or an inch too far. They're like well connected to the car. And so anytime your hands are in the wrong spot, you're gonna whip your head around a bunch. Additionally, some of your cars still have airbags in them. So that one time that you start to understeer, you lose the front tires, and you press the brake because you forgot that the front wheels don't have any traction and you're gonna slide into the wall, and the airbag goes off. What happens when your arm's in the way of the airbag? Yeah.
You absorb all the Claymore metal if you haven't had it replaced yet.
Look, my PT Cruiser has beautiful spirit crystals on there. Yeah. There's a famous internet photo, but yeah, that comes off, it breaks your arm, and you look kind of foolish. So yeah, we want them at the side there too. Additionally, you can chuck or you can initiate the same way on both sides. If the car starts to slide to the right, you can throw it down to the right. Starts to slide to the left, you can throw it down to the left. You can initiate equally. And you can slip as well. The biggest thing is, when you finish the drift, I've sat in some people's cars, and their steering wheel, when it's straight, is like this. And they put a little piece of tape at the top. They're like, yeah, I'll notice that at 110 kilometers an hour. No, man, you want your thumbs, like not in the wheel, but you want to be able to feel the wheel come back to where it's supposed to be. So I'm sliding, I'm just trying to recover it, and now it feels straight. Now I know the front wheels are matched with the road. I can't get out and like, oh yeah, no, they're good. They're pointed the same way. No, I want to be able to sit in the car and feel that the car is actually moving straight. And I can confirm that the steering wheel is straight because my hands are in the right spot for that. So it's super important. If you show up to our track day, our instructors will yell at you. They will kind of make fun of you for that in a nice way. They're there to teach you drifting. You're there to learn drifting, so they still like you. Just put your hands in the right spot.
Question?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on thumb protection based on how you hold the steering wheel?
Thumb protection.
Just cut them off.
No. Everybody thinks that those little indents are for their thumbs to go in. They're like, oh, I buy like a Momo course or whatever. Like, they think, not the case at all. That was never designed that. Those are actually, you'll see them bump out. Do I have chalk? Sometimes I have chalk. We don't have chalk today. Oh, we might have chalk. Yeah, we got chalk. Let's do a chalk. Now I'm a professional artist. That's why I've been drawing this whole thing the whole time. So you'll see the little bump come in. Your thumb is actually designed to kind of push up against that. It's actually to push into it. It's not to go under it. And that way, in professional grip racing, they actually don't pull the steering wheel down. It's not. That's the easy way to do it. We were talking. You and I talked about that a long time. The pull down. They don't do that when they're professional racing. Like if you watch even Formula One and stuff, they actually push up. It takes more effort to do so. And in a Formula One car at like, I don't know, 280 kilometers an hour, to move the wheels just a little bit, the car's off course. And so they actually push against the wheel to push themselves into the steering, and they push up a little bit. And that's what those thumb pieces are there for, is the thumb is doing all of the work to make sure that's an accurate steer. In your drift car, that doesn't really work. So don't stick your thumbs in. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, totally. And another part of that is protection of the thumb,
Do I
which you
put
didn't
them in?
really talk about. Like, say if you were to understeer, drive straight off the track, you will break your thumbs if you drive into the wall and are pushing really hard on your steering wheel.
Yeah.
Another thing that Dan Cormier did when he drives the steering wheel like a gorilla, somebody hit his front wheel. And due to the way wheels work and how fast the ratio is to the steering wheel, you can't possibly let go fast enough if you're holding onto it very, very tightly.
Yeah.
And you're not going to stop the wheel from turning by holding onto it when someone else's car is touching your wheel in the front. So that will break your thumbs too, right?
That's fair. Our gentleman on the screen, his left thumb's tucked in. His right thumb is correct. It's on the outside. And so yeah, you want to be able to slip those, especially when the car starts to countersteer. I had an S10 drift car. Terrible drift car. 7 turns lock to lock. So 1, 2, 3. It's 7 turns. And so when the car started to slide and you let go of the steering wheel, it wouldn't just like spin in front of you. You could hear it cutting the air. So like it sounded like a house fan. And if you tuck your thumbs in there, you are getting them back at you. So yeah, keep them out of there. I agree with that. The eyes. Dun 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 dun. So since the driver of this photo is in the room, he's going to answer the question of what he's doing correctly in this. Because you're doing something correct. What is it?
Looking where I'm going.
Hell yeah. If you stare at something that scares you, something you don't want to hit, if you just stare at the thing that you don't want to hit, what happens?
You're gonna air them,
Yeah, you're going to go into it. Yeah, could see that coming.
Quinn is not joking. We see this at every drift school. People will look at the cone and continuously run it over every single time without fail.
Yeah. So what do I look at then? If I'm not supposed to look at the thing that scares me, what do I look at?
Where you going?
Okay.
Where you want to go.
Yeah, that's right around there. Let's come back. I put my chalk away. That was so dumb. I have a question for you guys. And this doesn't apply to drifting at all. This actually applies to all driving. This applies to snowboarding. This applies to walking through your house. This applies to all things. We're going to ignore our curve here. It's a beautiful curve. We'll maybe even draw some drifts on it later. But I'm going to put a single rock in an infinite universe.
We have a question from one of your viewers.
Okay.
He wants to know why the driver of that truck drives a BMW now.
Oh, that's fair. That's a bit of an upgrade. Leaf springs suck, I'll be honest. Yeah. But
Front suspension.
what's that?
It's the front.
Yeah, there's no caster. I liked your caster mods. That was very smart. We can talk about that later. But you have an infinite universe, and there's one rock in it. And you stare at the rock. We just discussed that. You're going to hit the rock. But what you're also doing is you're ignoring the beautiful open space around it. It's infinite. But you're like, oh my God, that one object, that tiny thing that takes up barely any of the space. I'm going to give that all my attention. But if you pay attention to the area around it, then you know and are aware of the area around it. So if you stare at stuff that you're scared of, you're going to hit it. So pay attention to stuff that you want, the beautiful stuff, the open space. Look to the open space.
It's the lady in the red dress and
It is. Now, how do I get a date with her?
the picture.
Internet. Okay. Yeah. Cool. How do I prepare my car for drifting? There's a
Just as
question.
a comment on the eyes, I was gonna say, how far in front of the vehicle should I look?
Well, you answer it. Because you were trying to prompt the answer for that, so you tell me.
Just, you should look appropriate for the speed the vehicle is going.
What does that mean? That's way too engineered.
The faster the vehicle is going, the further ahead you should look.
There's an easier answer. You should always just look as far as you possibly can.
Right.
If you were to stare at the desk in front of you, try it right now. Ignore looking at me, stare at your desk. I know it sounds wild. You're still looking at me. Look at your desk. Awesome. No, Stan, why are you looking at me? Now you're doing it again. If you look at your desk in front of you, how much of the screen can you see? Awesome. What if you look at the screen but you use your peripheral to see the desk? Can you still see some of the desk? The further you look, the more information you get. So you still are aware that there's a desk in front of you, but you also know there's a screen up here too. You get more information. I have to teach that in regular driving all the time. The kids will stare at like the crosswalk in front of me and not noticing the car back into the driveway. Like, man, look further. The further you look, the better you drive. How do you prepare a car for drifting? I had a lot of people show up and they're like, hell yeah, got a car, let's drift. And then they go home because they failed tech. That sucks. Well, actually, our last drift school, I think we had a guy show up and he's like, got my Mark II Supra. Good car to drift, actually. Probably even better than the 240, but they're hard to get. And he was like, awesome, I'm ready. Got my helmet. And they're like, all of it fails. Everything. The whole thing. There's not a good part in this car. Please leave. It's dangerous for all of us to be on the track with you, which is the big thing. Everybody's like, oh, it's my safety. You're like, no, man, you're putting other people at risk. They're going to be near you. So if your car doesn't work, that sucks. I don't care about helmets. I think helmets are stupid. I will say it on camera. I don't like helmets. They're for my own safety. They don't affect the safety of other people. But the car, that's super important. It needs to stop. It needs to turn. It needs to hold you in position. And it needs to run. Man, there's so many like the super tuned cars. Like, oh man, I got the dyno done. It doesn't run under 4,500 RPM, but over 4,500 RPM. That thing is sick. And they stall, and the cars behind them all pile up. Like, man, make sure your car runs right. Make sure it functions. So the number one thing you can do to prepare a car for drifting is good maintenance. You can put wheels, you can put a body kit, you can do all the cool stuff. And there are definitely shops in town that will help you do cool stuff. Hi, those shops. Hello. But if shameless plugs. Well,
I didn't do that, I swear.
there's some other people in town that will also help you put in cool tube chassis and things like that. There's some good talent in the room. But if your car doesn't run right, you can't control it. If it doesn't turn, if it doesn't stop, if it doesn't accelerate, how much control over that do you have? You have none. So it's going to drift like shit. So first, make sure the good maintenance is there. You can add the cool stuff later. I don't know how many kids have shown up to Cap D with hydro handbrakes and their seat's not bolted in. Like, you modified the hydraulic braking system of your car before you put 4 bolts to hold your seat in. Like, there's steps. Do the right thing. Make sure the car is just a good car first. There's underlines. I'm like, my voice, I can't underline my voice more. Fix your shit. Oh my God, I even swear in the thing. Yeah. Your next step, once the car is a good, regular driving, normal car that will always start and stop and turn, now you can lock the diff.
Now you can destroy it.
Now you can wreck it, yeah. Might as well start with a good base and then wreck it from there. A locking diff is a really important feature of a drift car. You can drift with an open diff. I've done it. I was successful with it. I'm in a Donut Media video doing it. But it's just a lot harder. It's a lot easier to drift with a locking diff. Does anybody not know what a locking diff is? And this is not a call out. This is to make sure that we all have the same information. Does anybody not know what a locking diff is? Everybody's on that page? Okay. So somebody here can tell me all the different types of locking diffs then. I'm waiting for it. I'm ready. Anybody? Anybody? Tell me about all the different types of locking diffs. Do you have any? That's okay, you don't have to. You don't have to know answers today, that's why I'm here. But I need to know what you don't know so I can fill it in, if that makes sense. So always call me out, stop me.
Pretend you don't know anything.
That's okay. Well, I want to make sure that we are harping on the things you already know, though, too.
Well, the well.
There's the welded diff. Your car.
Oh,
I love this. We got what is it? Lincoln Locker. We have a spool. That's a 2 different type of lock diffs. Any others? LSD. It even has locking in the name. Yeah, or limited slip differential, I should say. Any others?
Air locker.
Air locker. That's another way. Torsen. What's it? Posi.
Those are all LSD
Did you sell your Mustang? Yeah, there's a ton of different ways to lock the differential. What that means is that both rear wheels, specifically under throttle, both turn at the same rate. Your control of the car continuing a drift is your control of the rear wheels. We were talking earlier how a lot of people, when they first start to drift, they try to use the steering to make the car drift all the time. But it's really that control of those back wheels to keep them going. Your open diff is designed for going around corners. Well, here's a good example. This inner line, this white line, is actually a shorter distance. If I were to take these 2 pieces of string and straighten them out, then this other white line, it's actually shorter. So your 2 wheels actually go through different arcs. One will travel a further distance, and open diff allows that to happen. Great for everyday driving, wonderful, but for drifting, very unreliable. Those back wheels will do whatever they want. They'll surprise you. You'll be on the side, you're like, yeah, and all of a sudden diff's like, nope, and the car goes all over the place. So you want that lock diff. LSD is like the dream. The LSD in my car is about $2,000. That's really expensive. You can build a drift car for that. Welded diff is awesome. Yeah, you don't need an LSD, but LSD is kind of the dream. Makes sense. Handbrake. This falls under good maintenance, so check mark. Done. We talked about it. Appropriate tires. I don't get many Z31 300ZXs at our track very often. It's actually a good car for drifting, but very few come out. We had one really amazing one. We also had one really shitty one. We had a beautiful red one. And he liked to do drag racing. He did our drag racing with our Victoria Drag Club. And he had Neato tires, Neato drag tires, super grippy, amazing tires. And they had stocks in the front. Do you know how he prepped for the drift day?
Swap it around.
Yep. And he's like, why am I spinning every corner? Well, because the front end had too much grip. But I got a question for you guys. I got 2 tires here. These are drag racing tires. That's fair. One is a front, one is a rear. Depends on how your car is driven. Which one of these is going to be good for the back of my rear-wheel drive car if I have 60 horsepower?
The narrow one, realistically.
The flat one.
Which one? Okay, so
Is that one on the right made out of PVC?
it is. Yes, it's actually biased.
You got a
wide.
sleeve on it, you can see it.
So, why the narrow one? I got the answer. The right answer was the narrow one. Why is that better for the 60 horsepower? Less grip. My car, if it only has 60 horsepower, and I need to spin the rear wheels faster on the road, needs the equal amount of grip to my power. It's called power to grip ratio. It's a thing that people like really fuck up when they first start building a drift car. Is they'll just throw random tires or the tires their uncle gave them on it, and sometimes that's awesome and sometimes it's bad. What happens if I show up with a 1,000 horsepower car with the skinny tires in the back? How's that day gonna go?
Sick.
Australia would love you. They have those beautiful burnout competitions where they spin around for an hour, uncontrolled and random. Summonets, yeah. So I want to balance the amount of power that I have to the amount of grip. It's hard to decide, but at first you will stick with slippery tires and you'll work your way up. Is anybody not on slippery tires anymore? They're now buying brand new tires and fancy stuff. How expensive does it get?
Very.
Yeah, man. It's frustrating. Actually.
My budget for tires this year is $1,000.
Yeah. So you really want to make sure that your tire matches your grip. If you've got a low horsepower car, you're going to run a skinny tire. If you've got a high horsepower car, when you're learning, it's better to run a little bit slipperier tire, but you're going to work your way up to a grippier tire. I got a weird question. This is an advanced question. Some of my people who are advanced in the course can answer this. Which one of these tires will make my dyno reading have higher torque?
The one furthest to the right, the smallest in diameter.
Okay, that's one answer. Any other answers? I mean, I got a dyno expert here. There's expectations out of you. Yeah.
They should all be the same torque if you put the tire size in properly.
Oh.
Yeah, if you're calibrated properly.
If you're calibrated. Let's say I didn't calibrate. I'm not changing the calibration at all. Which one's going to read higher torque?
The largest one.
The largest one.
No, the smallest one because
The
you're
smallest
gonna spin
one.
it easier. I mean, like it will spin more for the amount that it actually spins.
Okay.
Your lever arm is less.
Yeah.
It's like driving in a lower gear.
Essentially. Yeah. This tire, the smallest diameter tire, is essentially going to make your engine feel like it has more torque. It's going to make it feel like it has more power. It's sort of like riding your bicycle and you have it in the easy gear, and you're like, man, I can go up that crazy hill. But what if you went up that crazy hill in the big gear? How easy is it to go up there?
Depends how big your legs are.
I mean, thank you, but
You're talking on the front one, this one is easier.
big front, yeah. Yeah.
Big front, sorry.
You're changing your leverage or your essentially your gear ratio. And so if you show up to my track and you've got a clapped out single cam K and you put on a tire that's this tall, it doesn't matter how skinny it is, you're gonna feel very sad. It's gonna be like, why is my car so slow? Why can't I spin the tires? Find the appropriate tire both on width and diameter, which is hard to do, but it's possible. You can do it. There's a lot of different tire sizes out there. They exist. How do I win at drifting? Oh my God.
Cross the finish line first.
Yeah! What year's the time? How do you win at drifting?
Style?
Style.
Instagram.
Be sick. That's good.
Instagram followers.
Instagram
Yeah,
followers. I love that. I love the big Instagram accounts, and then you actually watch the guy drive in person, and he's like, woo! Some of them are amazing at, but
Dude, those stills are amazing.
I think we've talked, probably, some of you have heard me talk about the photo versus video problem before, where you can take a really sick photo where the car is just about to spin out, and then it actually spins out, and just before, it looks like you're operating at the coolest angle. You're right out there.
For days.
Yeah, and it looks so good on your feed. You're like, hell yeah, I'm the
Take the
dope.
video and get the right frame, that's how you
That's
do it.
fair. Yeah, I like that. It's even more advanced. I'm going to sign up to your program. I like this. But then you actually see a video of the car, and it's sketchy and shitty, and it sucks.
No, they clip it together appropriately.
That's fair too. So Instagram, it doesn't matter how good you drive, it matters your editing skills. That's all that matters. No,
That's how you win.
that's how you win. So class over. No. No.
What's your Instagram?
Can you drag a thing that makes your drift car look better? It's like a little...
There is a slide. No, there's a filter for that. Yeah, cooler.
And it changes
actually,
the angle of your car?
It changes the steering angle. Yeah, and adds smoke.
Yeah, you need a smoke bomb. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that.
Yeah. No, the thing with drifting is there's drifting competitions, but sometimes the person who wins the competition actually didn't have the most fun. So did they win? The reality of drifting is to have the most fun, is leave your house in the morning and really have a good time. That's really the big thing. So I want to put that in there. You can win a trophy, that's awesome. That could be your type of fun. But whatever your type of fun is, make sure you're having your type of fun. Path to success. Oh, here's where it gets a little bit deep and philosophical. There are two paths to success. There is the drive. Essentially, success is to drive good and look good equals good. That is your formula. That's for our engineers who may have difficulty with emotions. They can go through the steps.
Thanks, Gwen.
No problem. But ultimately, you have two paths to get there. Because when you get a lot of time into drifting, eventually your car's going to look really cool. You're going to drive it really well. And so when you drive a cool-looking car really well, you look good. But you can start at different ways. You can start with doing lots of seat time. You can sit in the car. You can do lots of driving in a dumpy car. They actually have specifically events for that around the world. And there's even a name. Some people call them missile cars. Don't hit, the side note, don't just purposely hit shit. That's not cool. Getting close, yeah, making a mistake, that's okay. But like purposely, that sucks. That shit's garbage. But sitting in the car and doing as much driving as you can will get you good at driving. That's the only way to really do it. I can give you all the tips that you want and like feed in all the little bits of information, but without the seat time, it's going to be hard to get there. The theory is different than the actual application. The other path is you can make the car look really good. You can spend a lot of time building that super really dope car. You might not get a lot of seat time, but eventually you're going to need the seat time. So at some point, you're going to get the seat time to get both parts to make the thing good. Either way, whichever way you want to take is totally okay. But you're going to end up on one of those two paths if you want to get to the combination of the both. What to expect on our drift school day. I'm going to adjust this a little bit because some of you guys are here for our expert stuff. Some of you are here for our beginner stuff. On our beginner days, we're going to start with donuts. This is your seed to drifting. This is where you plant the seed. The drifting starts there. So getting good at donuts. There's 4 parts of the drift. There's the setup, initiation, the control of the drift, and the exit. If I'm doing an infinite donut, which one of those things am I practicing? Control. The control part, yeah. That's the easy part, so we start there. We start with the easy part. Just controlling the donut, getting used to it, getting comfy with it. Then later on you can add the other steps. Yeah, you are going to have to set it up, but the setup's a little bit easier in a donut. And you're going to have to initiate. The initiation in a donut, specifically a donut, is a lot easier. But you're focusing on the control stuff. In the morning, we're going to start, like on our beginner side of the morning, we're going to start with the donuts and the figures of 8. Figures of 8 is working on transitions. So you're doing a donut, and now I want to change directions. You're going to continue that donut, and it's about transitioning the car, keeping it sliding as it changes directions. Those are the first 2 skills to work on. You master those skills, and you can add everything to that. Those are your base skills. You're going to keep stacking up from there.
Question?
Questions?
Which one do you guys think is harder, the donuts or the figure 8s?
I actually learned the figure 8 first.
That's okay. Yeah.
But it was winter.
Snow drive?
Yeah.
Best way to learn, weirdly enough. That's how I first started drifting. Because I used to work at a nightclub, and I had an automatic SR5 AEA6.
Oh, hold on, what?
Yeah. I was a security guard at a nightclub. Yeah.
You grew a
And
beard.
what's that?
Was this the No Homers Club?
The no what?
The No Homers Club.
It might have been. There was one. They were allowed one. Yeah. No, I would drive. I was 2 in the morning on a Sunday night and Saturday night, and just drive home in the snow from one city to the next. You just mangy back and forth from the curb to the curb with a little automatic SR5. You just get kind of comfy with it. In the snow, it's like slow motion. Like, okay, there we go. Yeah, no, I'm gonna move. It's really easy to kind of learn in the snow. It's a good way. We don't have much snow here, so you're kind of fucked. The rain's great. And the more something happened, the lower the traction, the easier it is to learn at first. But yeah, once you get these 2 skills down, you're going to work on the full corner, and we're actually not doing kidney this year. We're just going to do peanut. We're going to have full corner. We're going to have peanut. Full corner is just the kind of idea to get used to sliding one corner. So you get all 4 parts. You get the setup, you get the initiation, you get the control, you get the exit, you get the full drift. The peanut is now to take your figure of 8 skills and put it all together. So you're going to initiate, and you're going to keep the car sliding. You want to keep the car sliding the whole time. There's a couple different lines to the peanut and something to work on, but it's just to put it all together. That's your complete beginner package. If you can keep the car sliding during the peanut, things are going well. See? We're going to come to the questions in a second. Anybody here for our advanced stuff? You were saying you were. Is there anybody else that's going to do our advanced day? Awesome. So I want to talk about our advanced day because we've never done an advanced day before. Sorry, I'm going to put it as expert because I actually have more stuff to add to it, like a higher class than that. But our expert day is this is the first time we're doing it. It's an experimental day. It might go good. It might go shitty. I'm warning you now. But we're working on a couple things. We're going to work on proximity. So proximity, we're going to do some figure 8s. But these aren't just regular figure 8s where you just got to keep the car sliding. You got to put your booty out. And you got to get it up on stuff like this one right here. It's very close. It's not touching them. I'm sorry. The idea is that you want to get your car up close to something, but not hit it. That's the back proximity. During those figure 8s, though, you're going to want to get your nose up on it too. There's a front proximity, there's a rear proximity, and you'll only earn our badges. We use a badge system, so if you are learning and somebody's like, hey, you did that, they're going to put a sticker in your car saying, yeah, that's somebody else agrees that you did that. That's sort of like going to school when somebody gives you a paper and they're like, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna vouch for you that you did the thing. You are now a professional chef. Here you go. Yeah. So we're gonna give you a sticker that says, yeah, you can do that task. To get that proximity badge, you're gonna have to get your nose up on the cones and maintain it on the cones. You can't just like knock the cone over and be like, oh, I did it. Doesn't work. You gotta get your booty out there, and that's gonna be one of the things. We are going to have our stretch. So stretch is a weird thing. You're in the corner, you're in the top of third gear, and you're running out of gear, but you're not gonna make the length of the corner. What do? You're gonna end up like curving in, hitting the curb. That sucks. How do you stretch that drift out? Whoa. Well, how?
Figure out how to understeer a little.
Okay, you could lose front traction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lose some traction so that you move outwards in the radius.
One of the hardest things you have to do in drifting is to make a drift bigger. Yeah.
If you've got an e-brake that works, that can often save your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Faint.
No, you're already drifting. You're already
Oh.
sliding. You are sliding through the corner. You're not going to make it to the end. You just
Fainting
don't
at
have
that
enough
point
horsepower.
is-
You don't have enough momentum to do
You
so.
gotta cut the wheel.
You can. There's a couple different ways.
Clutch and front brakes.
Yep. Yeah. For me, it's I don't have a working handbrake, so I lock up all four wheels, and because an object in motion tends to stay in motion, the car actually slides out more.
It helps if you have equally shitty traction in front and rear, so you can slide as a unison.
Yes.
If you have good front tires, it's the spinning.
Yes, that's why I like equal. Yeah, that's a setup thing, but yes. Yeah, so there's different ways, and we're going to work on that. So that'll be our expert first half. Our second half, we're doing the no clutch kick, no handbrake section. So you are not allowed to use the clutch or handbrake. That's it. You can't. You got to figure out how to transfer the car and move it. And I have some. I see those giggles back there. Like, I can do that. We'll find out. And it's okay. If you can, you get the sticker. That's all it is. You get a sticker from it. I'm trying to think of our last one. Oh, our last one is my favorite one. We have one called the Escapist. Has anybody done Flip-A-Bitch before?
Is that like the Scandinavian moose flick?
Not quite. We don't have any Volvos. Well, there might be some Volvos. You've done Flip-A-Bitch before. What's Flip-A-Bitch?
Set up two cones, like a parking stall, and then drift into it.
Yeah. We're going to do a modified Flip-A-Bitch. So imagine I have a parking spot. I'm going to be drifting. Actually, it starts at Lego wall, weirdly enough. So this is, like I said, expert. You're going to be sliding along Lego wall all the way down to learning curve. And there's going to be there's essentially a parallel parking spot that's out there. There'll be a couple more than two cones. And you're to come and stop in the box. The problem is that you can't just yeet at it. You can't just be like, oh, I'll get it the next time and hit all the cones and knock them everywhere. Because that's going to be a fail. If you're going to hit those cones, you have to escape. So if you set it up wrong, if you made a mistake with your setup and you're going to hit the cones, you have to find a different way to go. I don't care which way you go. It doesn't matter how you get there. You just can't hit the cones.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the Escapist is, why would I even write that into a course? What's the purpose of that?
So you avoid your friend who spun out in front of you?
Yeah. I see so many times people are like, oh, the car in front of me spun out. Oh, I hit them. Oh, both of our cars are fucked for today. Yeah. You got to find other spaces. This comes back to this. If you stare at the thing that you're scared of, things are bad. And so you can either figure out if you can do the perfect park, which is great. That's an extra check mark. Or you got to get the hell out of there. Does that make sense? Cool. I thought I saw other questions. Was there a question? Okay. Did you know that I want to work on open questions? That's kind of our talk, but I want to talk to you if you have questions. You guys sat here. You listened to me the whole time. You either are sitting there like buzzing, or you missed half the talk, or there's something that didn't make sense. Is there questions? There isn't questions. Okay, I'll sit quiet. I'll wait for questions.
Well, when's it? Because I wanted to set up for the beginner driving course, but when is it?
Awesome. It is very soon. It's March 7th.
Yeah, you said that, okay.
Yeah, and so it's the sign up is still open. I don't think we're full yet.
No.
We're close, I think. We're getting there.
We're close.
Yeah. Yeah, so now's the time to sign up. Get the car together. Yeah. We have changes for our Snell rules this year. Snell is not misspelled snail. It actually is the the rating of our helmet systems that we use, it's 2010 requirement now. Inside your helmet, not on the back, inside your helmet, you're going to find a tag that says Snell, and it's going to give you a year. Anything older than 2010, and it's time to find a new helmet.
Don't try and be clever and rip a sticker out of a helmet and put it in your shitty old one, because it's super obvious to tell that your helmet from the 1980s. That is like, looks like a golf ball and not Snell 2010.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. I had another question at the back there.
My e-brake doesn't actually click and lock. Like,
Sick.
Will that pass tech or no?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
is?
just
I
needs
thought
to
it
work.
had to, like,
It doesn't have
stay.
to lock, it just has to
No?
work.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
will still stay in the Miata.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is it got a spin turn?
Yeah.
Chris's car, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
his car.
Yeah.
Awesome. Some of those cars you can actually like pull it up and reach under and go and push the little. It's just a little tab that hangs down. It's loose.
Is it
A
a
little loose
Mazda?
guy.
That's a
Yeah.
Toyota.
That's a Toyota thing.
Is it?
No, it's Miata. You can do it too.
Yeah, I thought you could pull on the thing and it'll lock.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it also has the tab like you're talking about. You can do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason it's helpful that it locks is if your car's on fire
Yeah. That's
and you get out, we don't want it rolling.
Yeah.
But the reason that you want to get rid of that for a drifting perspective is I'm doing handbrakes for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oops.
It was literally
Yeah.
just because of what you said. I heard sometimes they fail because like if it's on fire and rolls into another car, that's bad.
Yeah, so up, put it in, wedge something under there, whatever the case may be. If there's a fire,
You can also leave your car in gear.
yeah,
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
yeah, that's fair.
It's hard to think about that kind of stuff when your car's on fire and you want to run away.
Fire extinguishers for drift school.
Drift school, fire extinguishers are not required.
But if you do our drift school and you're like, oh, I want to do more drift days, they are definitely required. You have to have a fire extinguisher in your car. Yeah. Question.
On the top of page 2, it says to ask you why you're an idiot.
Cool. So go back to page 1. You'll see on page 1 there is a picture of a sad man sitting beside a very damaged RX-7.
Those extra ones you get there?
Yeah, you have one. You can keep this. This is yours to keep.
You're lovely.
Ta-da. That sad man is me. That's my very first drift day.
Sad. Really sad. Where was that?
This was Flamborough, Ontario, I think. Or a different name for the city. Anyways, it was outside of London, Ontario, which is near Toronto. And this was a free day. The track was like... Flamborough? Okay, cool. Yeah, and this was a free day. The track had never run a drift day before. This is like 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. And they're like, yeah, you guys can use the track today. We want to see what drifting's like. And I had never done a drift day before. So I showed up with a helmet and a car. That was it. I didn't have any spare tires. I didn't have anything. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I drifted the whole day. Had a great time. Did really well. And then I wanted to do the bank. Nobody had done the big bank that day. And I figured I'm great at this. I'm the best. I went the whole day without having a collision. I must be amazing and natural at this. And I don't know if you can see the barrier beside it. Those are Jersey barriers. And those are holding the mountain from spilling onto the track beside it. And I pushed one of those Jersey barriers into the mountain with my car. All of the suspension on the one side of the car went under the car. And we were about 2.5, 3 hours away from home with no plans on if there was a failure. So you can that's me being an idiot. I've done it. That's the only time, but I've done.
It was
Yeah.
big enough one that you learned.
Yeah. We actually have a thing that's called learning curve.
What did you do?
What did I do?
How did you get home?
Great question. This is a very long story. But it involves stopping in a farmer's field who had 2 RX-7s and putting the wrong suspension in, then leaving the car overnight at a grocery store, and then borrowing a truck, borrowing a dolly that was broken, and having the car fall off on the highway.
These are the best.
Yeah.
Great. The best stories.
Yeah, the longer story resulted in me going to Japan for the first time, but that's a whole that's like 45-minute story. But yeah, that's the quick synopsis of that. But yeah, it sucked. It was really tough, and there's a picture of me crying at a gas station at one point as well. Yeah, and so having your first day set up really nicely. Has anybody learning curved yet?
Yep.
Cool. How expensive was that? Very. For you is very.
Lucky.
Yeah. How about for you? Okay, but Mr. Baller Pants, you can leave your wallet here. That's fine. Yeah. You did one of these.
I just bounced over it.
Yeah. Well, we saw the truck earlier, the big tires. Yeah. The learning curve has that name, and that's actually, how old is that name? Is that as old as Cap D?
Yeah, I think that that's the name we gave it, is stuck forever.
Mm-hmm. Learning curve is a curve that will take your suspension, and I think the official term is back to the future. So you come in, you're like, I am doing a really cool lap. This is sick. Stay down, party down, and the curb folds underneath. Some other people have hit some other stuff. Those are expensive as well. Yeah, don't hit shit. Number one rule.
My favorite memory of learning curve is a car hit it, and he kept hitting the gas. He's like, yeah, my car won't move. And one of the wheels was full back to the future, but the axle wasn't broken, and the wheel was still turning like that. So I'm like, okay.
So let's say it's your first drift day, and you don't want to hit learning curve. How do you not hit learning curve? What's your strategy?
Don't be a hero.
Look at it.
Okay, you're advanced. I like the better answer. Somebody had don't be a hero. Is that was here? Yeah, don't be a hero. You don't have to drift every corner. There's literally I have people do the first day and they're like, oh my god, I got to do big bank, and you're like, no, there's nobody sitting here recording like how it's going and who's making what progress. That's not a thing. It's just take small bites. If it's your first time, pick one corner, ignore the rest. Just grip drive, normal drive. You don't even have to keep up. At our regular events, we actually have 3 lines. There's the 2 lines for lining up with your friends. You know, there's people who drift a lot and want to go with their friends. There's a group back there that likes to drive together. They'll line up together behind each other. Yeah. And then there's a 3rd line right against the wall. This line has a special name. It's our learner line, and they go at the end. So if I'm running the line, we'll send a group of cars, and the last car is somebody who's learning. They get all the space to themselves. Most of our layouts aren't overlapping layouts. Some are, but most of them aren't. And so you get the space to kind of do what you want on a regular practice day, on a regular competition day too. It's not about like having to keep up with everybody. You can work up to it. The nice thing about being the last in line, if you feel like you're getting that skill, and you can try to keep up with them, that's cool. But you can also just take your time at your pace. You can grip the whole thing. You don't even have to drift the thing. You can just follow behind them and watch what they're doing. You have literally usually 8 hours of driving. If you feel like you have to send it on your very first run at 9:30 in the morning,
All the other drivers will thank you.
yeah, thanks for the free open space track, because there's less people operating on the track today. So yeah, you can take your time with the learning stuff. Do I have more questions?
Which one actually is learning curve?
Ah, good question. I don't have a diagram, but
Pull it up on Google Maps.
let's Google Map.
You did like
Let's do it.
like corner 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the regular oval.
It's the infield.
It's going
Infield 3, yeah, you type infield 4.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's what I thought.
It's the curve that has the most chunks out of it.
It's like
And
almost
it's-
like down to being normal now.
Yeah, but it's over the past like 12
Not
years.
even nearly as aggressive as it used to be.
60 sidewalls will save your life.
The grip of the guy for Pumpkin Smash, somebody
Could be better.
flattened their tire.
Probably.
Satellite that.
Dear Internet, I like you.
Hey, it's free.
You like me.
It is free. Stop complaining.
That's not a complaint. I'm romanticizing it. I'm telling it that it's nice. I like it. Let's enhance.
Oh yeah, it's like CSI. It's getting better.
Enhance. Enhance. This little chunk right here
Oh, that's it.
is learning curve. You'll see that there's actually a straight section here. So people will they'll drift all wide, and they're like, cool. And then they drive into the curb here, and it's a beautiful straight line into the learning curve. And so coming out nice and wide in here is a good way to get the line if you're drifting it. But you could also just do what if you're not sure how to do the line?
Not drift.
Yeah, just grip up, slow down, drive around the corner, and then set up on the next one. No big deal. Cool. I like more questions. I'm here for questions. I've been drifting since 2003. I've done it in 5 countries now. I've owned 70 cars. I've made a lot of mistakes. How can I help you not make mistakes? Yeah. There's the other people here too. Yeah. Da-da-da.
Can you fix my broken SR?
Yes.
By
But
yes,
you won't.
you mean
You won't like my solution though. Yeah. No, I drifted an SR in the UK. They're like, here's a car. It had no turbo, and I don't know why it needs a turbo. Like.
Oh, dude, are you serious?
Now I'm gonna even tell you this. It was a turbo motor. They took the turbo off of it.
That's even worse. The NA ones are slightly better.
Yeah, and I was on everybody's door, and it didn't make sense. Why is there a turbo on this motor? They jam NA. They jam NA.
No, it's about gearing with those fucking motors.
Yeah, it really is.
I've driven an SR20 DE with a 4.1, and it is the worst fucking motor. There's nothing. 6,500. And then
Let me give you context.
Robert, are you getting this?
on that
Robert
point,
crashed that car.
No.
I
I'm on the live stream.
Yeah, what's that?
Is this being caught on the live stream?
It's likely caught on the live stream. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. Yeah, no, that car jammed. I don't know why you need turbos and SRs. Like
you should ask what they did to that car to make it what it is, because they don't.
Do I find the car, Robert?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
I got lots of pictures on my phone.
Do you have? Okay, do you want? Yeah.
Of what it looks like now.
Ken had an SR20 DE hatch, and it was the slowest thing. I was like, what? Why is this thing so slow? I thought, mate, I'll drive it. I'm like,
Hey, there it is, right there. That's me driving it. This is a bone stock. Bone stock S14A.
It looks lowered.
No, it's not lowered. It's fatigued. So this car is a teaching car for their group. This car starts at 7 a.m. It sits on Rev Limiter until 8 p.m. and then it goes to the next city and it moves over. It's kind of a traveling circus for drifting. And it's usually driven not by a professional instructor, by people learning. So it just sits on Rev Limiter literally all day, and people just clutch kicking the shit out of this.
It has a better motor now.
It has a 1G FE in it, which is actually an upgrade for it. But yeah, I love them. After driving them, amazing.
They don't die.
Anyways, this car, you can take the front wheel and you go clunk, 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 and you can go clunk, 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 and the back wheels you can go clunk, 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 clunk. And this car, at bone stock, the turbo taken off the SR because it kept blowing turbos. So like, nope, it's NA now. And awesome. I don't know why you need a turbo on SRs.
I don't know
Wow.
why, by the sounds of things, you don't need solid suspension like the others.
Yeah, well, some of us drive through stuff. That's the thing as well. Yeah, after enough driving, you can drive through stuff.
At one point, the steering column separated from the steering rack.
That is true.
You're not selling me.
No. I'm just saying.
when you said traveling circus, you were on point.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just saying that when you're slamming the dash and you're on the door in front of the R33 in front of you, that's like, and you're like, go faster, and you don't have the turbo on the SR, I don't know why you would need it. You're like, look at how bald the tires are on it.
Yeah, that's fair. But if you had 18-inch three-piece wets, you would have a different story.
That's fair. That's fair. And yeah. So I don't know. I don't even remember the question. I just remember I just remember like I like driving an NASR car. It so much so that I still want like an NAS 15 now. Like that I don't recommend it. Yeah, I would kill for an NAS 15 over a turbo one. Because I didn't have to fucking fix the turbo. That's the worst part, is the turbo fucks off.
It's a car you don't have to care about. That's the huge difference.
Actually, that car cost us probably $4,500 Canadian, but that's
It's a long story, but Robert feels really bad.
That car is now more of an arrow shape. Yeah.
Hey man, we kept sending it in that car. It's fine.
Do we have any more questions outside of London, UK stories? That's Birmingham, England, by the way. No? That's fair. No? Okay. Well, I'm going to hang out some more. I'm going to say thank you for coming. If you haven't signed up for drift school, do it tonight. If you are going to do drift school,
The automated system won't let you sometime next week.
yes, yeah, it's going to cut you off. It's going to be like, no, I can't do that. I can't process that close to the date. So if you're signing up, do it now. Have your cars ready. Have your like stuff sorted out. Can you actually? I have a question for you guys. What was the most important part of drift car prep?
Maintenance.
Yeah, fucking fix your shit before drift school. Yeah, it's going to be really shitty.
You cannot believe the amount of garbage cars people bring and try and drive, and it makes your learning experience harder because you're not going to get anything from trying to learn drifting garbage. It's just.
I have a question. Your car is made of materials. What are all the materials your car is made of?
Steel.
Steel?
Rubber.
Sorry?
Steel.
Plastic?
Rubber?
Rubber. Okay, those are important ones. Anything else?
Titanium. No, just kidding.
Yeah, well, if you're fancy, titanium, glass is in there too. Aluminum? Okay, so we got essentially 6 for the most part. Carbon fiber if you're bougie. Which one of those ones that we've discussed is the worst one?
Rubber.
The rubber. Yeah, the rubber and the plastic are the things that you're going to fight against most. Your 37-year-old car, those rubber bushings wore out first. Most of the stuff you're going to fight against is rubber on your car. You're going to fight against the tires. You're going to fight against all the blown out bushings. You're going to fight against all the worn out engine seals and transmission seals. Most of the time you're going to fight with rubber. That's going to be the major thing. So if you're sitting at home, you're like, I'm bored and I want to do something, fix the rubber on your car. Find something rubber, replace it. Those radiator hoses, they're going to burst at some point. Find all the rubber shit, fix that stuff. If you were to simplify it all, there's more to it than that, but that's kind of the most that you're going to do is fuck around with rubber. What do you work as a mechanic? What do you fix most?
Junk.
Okay. But like, are you
check engine lights for emissions issues?
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
there you
good.
go, yeah.
That's usually the rubber O-ring around the sensor that's fucked up.
You
Yeah.
didn't tighten the gas cap. You gotta tighten the gas cap.
Yeah, and so you're going to fight it with rubber a bunch. So fix your rubber shit. Put in some bushings if you can, stuff like that. Cool. Well,
Alignment.
alignment. Why would I want an alignment?
These happens pointing in the same direction.
That's fair.
Fix the bushings first.
There is definitely a driver that keeps showing up to our events that has the wheels all pointing different directions on every car he drives. It's amazing. Yeah, I won't say who it is, but it's
Is it the one who bananaed multiples of his vehicles?
possibly. Yeah, yeah. Out of curiosity, why is an alignment important? You brought it up. Anybody else tell me why an alignment is important? Alignment is
Somebody
important.
from the back row who's probably done one before.
Come on.
Makes your car drive straight.
Yeah. Remember how we were talking about like pointing your front wheels where they need to go? What if they just naturally don't point the right way? Yeah. Or what about using your throttle to push you to the next, like the exit of the corner, and they just point random directions in the back? Which is a real thing. Yeah.
Oh.
I drove Dan Cormier's car one time. He's like, I got 2 degrees of tow out in the back. And I'm drifting. I'm like, cool, I'm ready to finish drifting. I can't stop drifting. They're looking. Yeah, have an alignment.
You Miata boys, tow out in the back.
Yeah.
We don't
It actually has 0 in the rear.
Yeah,
But it does
tow-
have increased caster.
tow out.
Like how much?
Yeah.
It
Like
has
a degree.
All of
Start
it.
with a degree. Don't go
Slight.
more than that.
Don't go a lot. Yeah, if you can visibly see it, it's too much. Yeah.
But if you have 0, they squat and toe in, and then you'd be like, why does it pull in all the time when I'm drifting?
No, they don't. They're square in the rear. When they squat, they sit square. I don't know why Matt thinks that, but it's not right.
Yeah.
It doesn't toe in. Is
If
it?
you toe it out a bit, it'll hang out.
It is. That's really good, but it doesn't toe in as it squats.
The Miatas are really
Daily drive
grippy.
your car with a toe out. That's not fun. And or it also wears your tires.
Oh, since we're near the end, I gave all of you. Robert was nice enough to give you all the sheets that you're supposed to fill out. Now's a great time to fill those out. And here's the thing: the last time I had people fill them out, they did an okay job. They did a nice job, but they were also nice to me. And I want to actually know how you feel. So take a moment and fill that shit out. Grab a pen. If you don't have a pen, fill those papers out. I want to know actually the answers to those questions. Well, did you get one?
No, I didn't get one.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know if I have any others. What you can do, though, is sneak to see what the other people's...
Where's the back? Give me a second. Sure.
Why are you here?
I don't know if I'm gonna try.
Why are you here?
But if I do, you can.
What do you want to wear?
This is why.
Last one.
I might try my.
Those are the big ones.
He's brother up.
I love my rainbow Arkansas.
Also, there's still a lot of
I
ways
want
for
to
this to be
initiate
cold.
like a wall.
Please take as much as you can.
As much as I can. That's a challenge.
Yes, it is.
I might.
One's good.
If you're gonna do both grippy feet and drifting, just
Sorry?
leave it 0.
Anyways, thank you guys very much for coming.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Also,
Thank you.
You're gonna do both with 0. If you're
If you have further questions after tonight, did you know that you can contact me privately? I don't give a shit. I get to talk about drifting. So yeah, you can contact me anytime. That's okay.
That's just an odd thing.
I just gave up in January.
I like 0 because it doesn't want to go over that.
No, but you'll find later on what'll happen is you're doing the big banks, the car will naturally bring itself in.
Okay. Yeah.
However, they designed a suspension to just keep doing that, and the only way you find it is you just put it up.
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
now, do we have any
yeah,
chat
the other
questions?
thing is such short
Hi, chat. Do you have any questions?
And 50-50 weight distribution. It's immediately wants to grip.
But
Question.
The one thing that you talk
No,
about
question.
sometimes
Okay.
that I find is helpful for learning, and you talk about the sensation of what you feel in the car. You didn't discuss.
oh yeah, you didn't talk about the car, but the butt
Do I have a
feel.
volunteer?
Right here, Mr. Mr.
I got.
Capital
I'm
Drift.
on.
He's-
I'm on
he's
the
on that
camera.
No, no, I got you covered. I got you
You
covered.
can be a volunteer. I need one. I got time's ticking. It's getting awkward now.
Here's
Yeah.
Cam, volunteer. Yay!
Run off! Come to the front. Come to the front.
Yeah.
What did I do?
You're gonna stand right
You
here.
won.
You want it drifting.
You're gonna stand here. You're in the center. He's on camera. Hi, this is Cam.
Cam on
He's
cam.
named after a computer.
True. It's actually true, yeah.
You're here to tell us what drifting feels like in the car. The sensation of a drift.
Oh, it's amazing. It's exhilarating.
Okay.
It's like,
Make it dirty.
you can literally see the 20s and the 50s flying out the tailpipe.
That's
as you-
true,
As
yeah.
you're driving down the track.
No,
it's
specifically the
yeah.
forces that act on your body.
it's rough. It is rough, especially when you're learning, because you'll stall the car and you'll steering wheel.
Okay, I want you to drive down and quadra ramp.
Yes.
Yeah, you're coming up onto. Yeah, I want you to just make that right turn and tell me what happens to your body when you make the right turn. No, stay still, stay still, stay still.
Jesus.
We're just talking about G-forces.
Okay.
So where does your body go when you make a right turn?
It goes this way.
Cool. What happens when you start to drift? What does it feel like?
It goes that. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Okay, well, let's
it
do it
goes.
together.
It goes like that, and then it kind of goes back. Well, when you're on the throttle, it goes back and that way.
That's fair.
It's like
yeah.
southwest.
Object in motion tends to stay in motion. That baseball in space, you throw it.
Yeah.
And when you make just a general grip turn, yeah, your body wants to lean away. You're making a right, your body wants to lean left. And then when you're drifting correctly, does it still feel like it's leaning left, or does it feel like it's leaning back?
Leaning back. Leaning, well, both essentially, but yeah.
Yeah. It actually feels like it's falling back, like you're getting pushed from behind. Remember using that push word? When the back wheels, when you're on the throttle, it's actually a little sensual, pushing from the rear. It actually feels like the car squats down and pushes from the back. Your butt's a pretty good communicator. It's got a lot of nerve endings back there. And depending on the app that you use that often. But, but it should feel, if a drift is locked in, and yeah, you can sit down and watch out the cord. If the drift is actually locked in and it's pushing you to the corner, it actually feels like it is pushing you from behind. I like that. I forgot about that. Thank you.
And what about through the wheel?
Ooh. Ooh. When you turn a car, it wants to straighten out. Like when you let go of the steering wheel, what happens when you're just making a turn? It just comes straight again. So when you're turning, yeah, the wheel's heavy one way. And as soon as the car starts to drift, we were talking about countersteer. I like this. The big question comes up often: when to countersteer? When do I do it? The car is starting to step out. The steering wheel will actually go light. Normally, when you start to turn in, it feels heavy, it's resisting against the turn. And the car will start to drift, and the moment in your hands, in the sim it does it too, doesn't it? The car will start to slide, and it goes light, and that's when you throw the wheel. So yeah, you can use those feelings. The car is talking to you. You shouldn't fight it. Yeah.
I couldn't drive an auto. Okay, I couldn't drive an automatic for the longest time.
You have to just be
Which is
patient.
ridiculous. When I worked at Toyota, the guys used to stand in the berries and fucking gut themselves laughing at me because I'm like, just,
Oh, that left foot hits the side of the brake?
just.
Can move it over. There's actually, how many pedals are in a manual car?
4.
Some nice ones have 4.
It's true. There's 4 pedals in a manual car. How many pedals are in an automatic car? 3.
2. No, some of them don't.
There's 3.
Well, you're talking about a foot brake here?
No. What's the other pedal?
Oh, the
The dead pedal. How do you use that?
Put your leg.
Yeah. Your body's going to flop around in that car when you're driving. And what's the best way to hold yourself still?
Press yourself in those.
Yeah. Use that left foot to push yourself in.
That's what I learned from drifting,
Yeah. Yeah, that left foot braking, if you're trying to do left foot braking on your very first drift day, things are a little behind, they got your priorities messed up. Left foot braking is actually not even in our expert course, that's in our advanced course. So, yeah, left foot does nothing.
Is
It just hangs
advanced
on the
higher
dead
than
pedal.
expert?
Yes.
You can use it, you can use it to hold yourself in the seat. Yeah, and then the right
super
foot.
advanced.
Yeah, sweet, cool. Any other questions? No?
Power steering or no power steering, good for a beginner?
Oh, I will answer that.
I have my own opinions for it.
Okay, I'll answer that because you're gonna read a bunch of garbage on the internet of people like depowering the racks.
Anybody on drift car builders? The
Yes.
Please delete that.
Yeah.
Because most of those people haven't drifted a car before.
I thought it was a how-to guide.
Oh my god.
so many good ideas.
Okay, so to answer the question, are you deleting it right now? That's important.
It's deleted and I want to put it back on.
Oh, drift car builders? You'll get a bunch of stuff about how to put an LS in your Miata. Just fucking throw that in the trash. Yeah.
Manual racks are great if you can get a manual rack. Now, what a lot of people will do is like, oh, I want a manual rack. I hear they're awesome. They're gonna depower their power steering, and the ratio on it is super fucked because it's meant to have power assist. So all of a sudden, you're gonna be like this in your car, trying to move it. Like, why is it so heavy? Some people think it's awesome because they're like, yeah, it's manual steering. In drifting, it's in my car at least, it's okay sometimes, and when I need to steer, I basically have to, he'll see me like, why are you like that? I'm fighting the steering with both arms. Yeah, it's not fun. I highly recommend for you to not do it. If you got power steering, keep it working. It makes everything so much easier. If you want the feeling of manual steering, get a manual rack. They make them for your car.
They do make them for your car. It is an upgrade. There is proper, like specifically for the Miatas, there's proper depowering setups. Depowering is not pulling the lines off and looping them. That's not right. No, you actually have to pull the whole rack apart, cut some seals out of it, and then put it back together. The ratio is different. On some of the,
it's not even just the ratio. When you start doing knuckles and stuff, your slip ratio is going to be all out to lunch, because all of a sudden you're actually going to be fighting jacking. So when you're steering your car to lock, your wheels basically camber out, and then you're lifting the car with the steering. So if you don't have power steering, you are physically lifting your car.
I can speak to experience on that. I depowered my rack correctly in my Supra, and it was fine stock, but I did knuckles and long arms. And it is a nightmare to actually steer. It's like this.
It's also relative to the driver. Like some people can
I drift like that the last 4 years.
Yeah.
It's not advisable.
No.
If you get your thumb stuck in there, that is the most painful.
It's like on the track, if I hit there used to be this one pothole in the back stretch of the infield, and I'd be drifting, and if I'd hit it, it'd wrench the steering wheel on my hand, and I just plow straight into the gravel. I was like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
So we've done it. You can do it. I don't recommend it.
If you are keeping power steering and you want to get into like a reliable build, put a power steering cooler on your car.
Yes.
The car was never designed to go and the power steering pump's like, hey, I'm getting hot. And then life's bad. So just a power steering cooler, which is, you can get at U-Haul of all places. You can go into U-Haul and be like, hey man. Or local shop.
You can start by doing a proper drain and flush out the system and make sure your lines aren't kicked, because that's 90% of the problem.
Yeah.
It's already
Pretty much everything having to do with learning drifting, all of us have done, all of us grumpy old drifters have done
Chris's
it.
old car
Chris.
I've got Chris
Rivers' car. It's
Is that-
Liam's old
Oh, it's Liam's old car?
Yeah.
It's sick. It's
You'll be
already
fine.
depowered. It's gonna be dope.
You'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, so don't worry.
Don't touch it. It should work fine.
It's good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but it is depowered, but it's gonna be heavy, but it's not.
Yeah, it's fucking
It's a
heavy.
Miata.
So I was like, wow, power steering?
It's properly depowered.
It's-
Okay.
It is, but like you'll see, yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's usually only heavy when you're stopped.
Yeah,
low speed,
and
yeah.
it's a good guide for drifting because if you're drifting properly, there's barely any weight on it. If you're taking a bad line and you have to
That's what I
correct, it's
figured
really
it
heavy.
didn't
But if your line's on point, it's super smooth. The car will tell you like, I'm happy, this is awesome. But if you're fighting your car, then you're not.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like if I were to like on the road of the decision, like somebody's like, hey, you can drift a car without power steering, you can drift a car with power steering, I actually would pick without. You get more feedback, but it's extremely relative to the driver, the car, the specific power
It's
steering
not fair.
setup,
It's
a bunch
not
of
a
stuff.
manual rack in
Yeah.
this car. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Power steering,
No, luxury
no big
items.
wheels.
Luxury items.
I like
Luxury
like
items.
a manual rack, but I would
Yeah.
prefer to go with
Below?
the depowered. I prefer.
I still
to
want
back
carbon
to power.
fiber.
But
I want all the carbon-
I
panels
depowered
carbon
mine
fiber.
because none of the power rack stuff worked. And then Liam did his because Miata stuff and it sounded cool as stuff.
Okay, if some of you want to leave and go home, you are welcome at any point to go so. And those who want to hang out and still talk more stuff, we can do that too. So do what feels good.
There's enough of us here, Tyler hiding in the back, who drifted forever. If you have any car builds, there's going to be anybody here going to answer any kind of question for any chassis you have. I don't know if there's a BMW guy here going to answer. Yeah, I got Ben. He's done Beamers. He can answer some Beamer questions. I
You're
recommend
a
Joel if
volunteer.
you want to do an alignment
Yeah.
or any shop questions. I know he's insanely busy though, because a bunch of guys probably dropped off a bunch of stuff for another event. So he might not be able to fit you in. But
We're booking on the 16th at the moment. So if you have dreams before drift school, I'm sorry. If you have dreams before the Team Tandem event, I'm also sorry.
Team Tandem event. What's that?
what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
Well, no one signed up for it.
No, unfortunately, all the teams that wanted the event did not go to the event.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Anybody who's not in a team, why would being in a team be helpful?
Share resources.
I know. There's something to learn.
Help your friends.
Good times with your buddies.
What?
Help your friends.
What?
Your friends help you.
More?
Teamwork.
Yeah. Imagine like not having a shop at home and no tools, and you want to do it by yourself. How much does it cost to rent a shop and buy all the tools to build a car? It's fucking expensive. I'm gonna use I'm gonna use the F word there. And so, what if there is a way to share that tool so that you don't have to? Yeah. Does anybody live in a hippie commune and they all share one Costco card?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing at this point. Those polygamists have it right. They buy in volume. And so you can save some money on some paint, you can save some money on some parts, you can save money by kind of teamworking and buying. I know that like when purchasing big parts for your car, a group order is always cheaper than not a group order. So if you have teammates, you can not only share tools, but what if you need to lift something heavy today? And you need to do it by yourself. You will get to your end goal so much faster if you give and you take from that. So you help them get their car together, they can help you get your car together, and you just get there faster. Most of the guys that you see that are still drifting after a really long time are the people who have good teams.
You can also be very creative by yourself.
You can.
It's invaluable.
I know. I just say not everybody.
On the side of a highway, you don't need no front suspension, for example. You have to go with the
That's fair.
It's helpful to be both.
It is. You do have to be creative, but just don't put away the idea that you can't, that you have to do it all by yourself, if that makes
The
sense.
funnest part of drifting, and if you ask anybody, is drifting with your friends. So whether or not you make a team, whatever, but yeah, you'll drift with your friends, and most people just make teams because they've been drifting with their friends.
How much does it cost to make a team?
No, Cam knows.
Livery, vinyl.
How much does it cost to make a team?
That's good.
Probably 5,000 per person.
Big wheels, right?
Yeah, big wheels.
I haven't made any teams yet because it's too expensive. So.
It really, it costs.
A banner costs like $50.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the start. That's the first part. Is like make a Facebook page, say we're a team, and then put a banner in your car. So it's a pretty low cost. There's more to it. You should have all the same color and look sick.
Is that required though to have
No.
a team? It's just like
No.
literally you and your friends.
You literally are
No.
like, I'm on a team with these guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
Hey,
suggest the
everybody
banner.
You're not gonna get any Instagram
Yeah.
followers at all.
Do soccer teams go out on the soccer field with different jerseys?
Hey,
The
yeah.
goalie does.
You know,
Pretty sweet.
beer league, Ben.
During practice, they do all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
We're
but
playing in the beer league.
Yeah.
like Husky before they paint all their cars, you probably wouldn't be able to tell they were a team. They didn't even have like anything.
Yeah.
They
The
were
banner is helpful to kind of identify a team. That's a starting point. That's the seed. It should grow into a full livery. I agree. But yeah, teamwork with each other. That's okay. Yeah. Sweet. All right. Yeah, how's chat doing?
We have cheese danger in chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's good. Okay, that's fair. So, any other questions?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah. Sweet. Awesome. No?
What was your favorite country to drift in?
pick the right one.
Yeah, there's a right answer and a wrong answer.
When's a shitty time drifting?
When your attitude is bad.
Okay. So they're all kind of really good because I was drifting. Yeah. The things outside of drifting made some of the countries shitty. But drifting the cars was fine. And to be fair, like going to all the different countries and talking to people, it doesn't feel like you're displaced when you're actually at the track. When you're at the mall or you're interacting in other things that are not drifting related, then you feel kind of like an outsider or outplaced. But no, when you're at the track driving, it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah. So they're all good drive-wise. Yeah. Yeah. That was a subtle advertisement for a different thing, but that's a whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Suddenly want driving lessons.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Thank you for coming. Okay. Sweet. You guys are hovering. This is awesome. You had the freedom to leave at any moment, and you're still here. What information have I not given you that you want from me? Because I have more. Yeah.
How come the photo of you crying after you hit the wall isn't included on your
That was before Facebook.
Clearly it wasn't that bad because you're still here.
It's shirtless, and I wanted to keep it PG, I guess.
I saw it. He looked handsome.
Take Crispies with you.
Thanks,
More
sir.
for the road. Thank you for
Have a
coming.
good night.
You too.
If you can read my writing,
Yeah.
I answered.
Hooray!
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions, guys.
Did you guys leave your things?
All of us here have done it before. We've all crashed our cars. We've all broken our cars. We've all
Yeah.
driven terrible cars, good cars.
I've never really crashed
Well, you've crashed other people.
I'm okay.
I've
I'm gonna
crashed
take a picture
other
of that,
cars,
so I want to
but
keep it.
Those shop ones are good for you, right? Yeah. Pretty sharp.
Yeah.
There you go.
on Saturday. I'll be
Hell yeah. What car are you bringing?
God damn, that's 35.
Hell yeah. You can keep this. This is yours. Thank you, sir. No, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for
There's
coming.
still more here. Oh my god. Do you have questions? I want to answer them all. Is there stuff that you guys want to talk about? Like setup things or weird stuff or like...
I figure it wouldn't be bad
Show you my other
for the newer guys just to say, like, it is a good idea to look at the CAPD
Oh, sweet.
website
I'll check that out.
and check over the
tech
rules
video.
and regulations.
The tech
and
video
tech and all
will
that kind of
show you
stuff.
almost everything you
That's
need to
fair.
know.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
play
want
it.
the tech
Play it.
video.
Play the tech video.
Play the tech video. Okay.
all right.
Is there anybody
Sick.
here who hasn't seen the tech video? Okay.
Actually, watch it on your own time.
Yeah. We'll do it anyways.
It's humorous.
Oh my god, I can't spell.
How do I zoom on this thing?
There's no zoom.
I think I need to go work on my car now.
Do I? What do I need to do? I don't use the website.
How do you tech?
Is the tech video on it?
Is it on the website? No.
No.
Do I?
No? Okay. That's cool. It used to be on the website.
Okay. It's in Matt Seltzer's car.
Oh, there it is right there.
Let's try to
Go down.
Yeah.
Sweet website, dude.
It's better than my truck.
Neither of those are the tech videos, by the way.
Yeah, I just thought of.
I don't know.
Yeah, it never works though.
And I.
Drivers, rules? No.
Where's the text section?
It's here, but it just leads to a,
I was asking Sean.
PDF.
Yeah, Sean's one of
Sean, what the fuck, man? Where's the tech section, Sean? Tech video's gone.
Wait,
Answer me.
I don't actually do anything with this site. I built it. Serge's
okay.
job is to fill it with content.
Okay, that's fair. It's okay, the tech.
Serge, where's the tech video?
Tech video in school. Wait,
It's not in there.
Is it rules or in school?
What you need?
Neither. Both are removed.
Okay.
What? Click on school.
It's not there. There you go.
Do you have an
This
account
is a link to the
on
Facebook page.
Okay, you can go on.
Yeah, but that might have the video on it.
Yeah, and then you'll see like the login, make an account, and then you'll see go to events, and then you'll see register for events. Super straightforward.
I'll talk to
I'm not sure when registration shuts down for. Yeah. It'll say on there though. Oh, here we
So
go.
there was a link. So check that one out though, because it's pretty neat and we have it. And then the next one. Oh, the shop is so clean this year. Look at Matt's hair.
What?
How thrilled they all look.
What camera do I look at?
Turn you away. Like Sheldon said, we're gonna be a little more strict this year. Keep it safe and keep it fun.
Hey guys, so we're going to start out with what we want your vehicle to look like in the tech lineup. Why are you for a sunny day at Capital Drift. If it's raining, some of the things I want to apply, I'll point those out. But we want hoods up. We're going to want your helmet on the roof if it's a sunny day. If it's raining, then yeah, I'm not going to ask you to put your helmet out and get soaked. We're going to want the hatch up. Whether you have a rear-mounted battery or not, we want hatch and or trunk or whatever have you up so that it's protected. And then your battery, wherever it may be in the vehicle, needs to have things off of it so that we can get to it inspected as well as your car is measured. So hopefully it'll help all of the inspections go faster and we get drifting faster, as well as we need you by your car so that if we have any questions for you, we can talk to you about them. And if there's any issues with the vehicle, we can let you know right away so you can get them fixed up and then that means you can go to car faster.
The security guard didn't know everything. He's like, it's just cool, but
We're going to give us a really good you can take the full car when I move that battery. That means it's really fast. There's batteries connections. They're nice and tight. Show up with batteries or not covered on the phone. Will fail you. It's probably our biggest reason at Capital Drift Tech for failing people. Other items inside the engine bay that we want to see nice and secure are your radiator. You really don't want them flying around. If you have aftermarket intakes like this, you want that nice and secure. Brake fluid. Another item that we touch base with everybody. There's very low brake fluid. Afterwards, there's a lot of strong engine mounts. So other than checking the bolts, make sure that they're tight. Not something to worry about. A couple Capital Drifters have the mounts.
It was very slow, but it's
Oh,
nice.
Did you say group I did some car factor.
Well, thanks for coming.
Very important for Capital Drift. We want to be and
Or I might do.
No VI, but I avoided VP area.
Right after.
But you got a really big guy.
I heard, yeah, but he was
Driving roadblocks, specifically for not even for. Sports car.
The only thing I didn't do, I got.
It's gonna have to be a snow 2005 or higher.
Yeah, so I need to pull from and clearance for but
Code stuff.
yeah, everything else I would have stuff. Yeah, just take everything maybe change to yeah, man.
Oh,
was it? That's funny.
We're gonna check for
Yeah.
both sides of the board.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I asked Chris about that stuff. Yeah, I was trying if I have one that's fluid swap and then like
make sure that you help around and
just squeeze a little bit.
the one that you sometimes we have a quick release check to that.
It might be your face lifting and being
around here, so
I said when he taps the terminal, kind of push the wrist, that's what I'll do. And shit it back to like not like the crumpled mess that it was, kind of thing. But instead it made for something really interesting. So I was going to use like massive yeah, but if you want to oh, he was a married? Oh, no way. Oh, cool. Yeah, so then, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
The screw falls out.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably good enough for.
Oh yeah, that car's the best, that one right there, super the best.
Somebody needs to dial the camera in the back.
Dude, is that a circle?
Yeah. That's me.
Secure bumper.
Oh, just the jump. Some stuff. Oh, yeah, right, okay, yeah. It's like looking at it, like it maybe looks like one should a little bit of this thing. Nothing noticeable. Yeah, probably.
What?
You want it to be.
No, that's the only place I have a work on. It's on
Too much grip from the car will cause it to
make it parallel.
I think it's in front of 40 or front of Okay. Do you know what So, if the front seats, you know, the car has lots of grip, if you were to like hit this here, hit it to the gas,
And or if you extend it past the car, you can just make it
One time
the
something
same at the end. And then the same you just
So
you
instead,
straight beside.
alright, while you car and I have like
I did that for a long time.
Just doing it that way?
Yeah.
Oh,
Until I did it.
push on the center of the car.
Right, and then it was just, I was
Yeah, so how do you continue to drift if it always
Yeah.
The inverse is true though, too. Right, there's blood on driving, you have to push the car and all the straight out.
All over the car.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my boss like I was just gonna go so maybe it is that one. Yeah. That one's actually that's actually pretty cool.
Oh. It's like a really simple experience to go out across.
Yeah.
How long did you get stuck? The rear wheel stops me, it's like pulling the handbrake, the car just stops, and you never get back on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. Like, no GPS.